I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome you all to the first day of the New America. And we'll start off this town board meeting with a public hearing on the 2017 preliminary budget. It was advertised in the Ithaca Journal, and this is a time where the public can give opinions to the board. It is not a question and answer session. It is a time for the board to receive information from the public. And each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Was there a special sign up for the public hearing?
You have the timer?
I do have the timer.
Alice, I didn't pay attention. I hope I didn't get on the wrong sheet.
Well, just say no, thank you.
Oh, well. Right?
He's going to get up and move.
It's okay, do you need to sit there?
Becky Sims. Yes. You signed up to speak on the public public hearing.
Should I stand or?
Yes, you should. Okay. And direct the whole board. State your name and address.
My name is Becky Sims. I live at 608 Black Oak Road. So I wanted to mention a few things about the budget. Really, when I received my tax bill this year, saw the 30% increase. I'm sure, like many people, was shocked by this. Prompted me to take a more active role in looking at the town budgets. So upon reviewing that budget for 16, I realized the source of the increase was due to a mistake that was made during the 2015 budgeting process, in which the total appropriations needed for the year was underestimated. It was too low by $148,000. And that appeared to be just due to a basic arithmetic error. So that's done. I'm not here to really talk about that, but I did want to make that point. And then, so I looked at the preliminary budget when it was posted on the town website for 2017. I reviewed it and again noticed some basic arithmetic errors. This time amounting to $18,636. Excuse me. So at that point, I emailed all of you. I hope you received that message. I know you did. You responded, and I brought that to your attention so that you were aware, but also to express my concern about that because this is an ongoing issue. Supervisor Ryder, you responded to my email, thanked me for bringing that to your attention, and stated that you were going to have the budget checked by a bookkeeper who has a different program than you do, because that was also what I asked was, are you using budgeting software or professional assistance on this? And you said no, the town has never spent money on having the budget prepared. So really what I just want to mention, and then you followed up to say that you sent me the preliminary budget, I believe, last week sometime, an updated version of it, and asked me to review it again for mistakes. So I'm happy to report that I did not find any additional errors. However, I am not, I have zero training in that field. I am not a tax professional, I'm not an accounting professional. I won a math award when I was in high school, but that's really all I have to say about my qualifications for that. So I would urge you to seek professional assistance and invest in that. I think it will probably be a very small investment, but would have a really big benefit for our town and for residents to be confident that our budget is going to be balanced. And
Sorry, I wasn't shaking my head at you. I was shaking my head at the machine.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. So yeah, I really want to urge you to invest in either software or professional assistance when preparing the budget, just to make sure everything's balanced. There's a few options like that. I understand other towns use something called Williamson Law, and there's a municipal accounting version of it. I did see that in the budget, so maybe that's happening. But I really think that would be a very good investment for our town to make. Additionally, I have one question. I know you said this is not a question and answer, but maybe you can consider this. So in the file, labeled the tentative budget, on page 6, it's not the copy that's being distributed here, but it was the first version called 2017 tentative budget. On page 6, it states the assessed value total is $210,971,065. However, the current version of the budget, I think it's the one that's being passed around here, states that the assessed value total is $185,916,981. So that's a difference of about $25 million. And for a second, I was like, great, there's more, value to spread the taxes around, but that maybe is not the case. So I'm just wondering what the sources of those differences and, making sure that we're really confident in what that final value is. That's all. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak at the public hearing on the budget? Marcus, state your full name and address.
Marcus Gingrich, 101 Rumsey Hill Road. And I'm not sure if this is actually apropos to this or a public hearing, but it was brought to my attention, and I have to confess I have not actually been able to read it myself, the document, the contract for the Enfield Community Council, but it was noted that according to that there's going to be a 2% increase annually for that. I don't know whether that's going into the, I haven't had time to look to see whether it's in the current budget, tentative budget, preliminary budget, whatever we're at here. But it seems a little odd with our current budgeting problems as far as like the road budget, just everything. I mean, we've got things like salary increases that are being not done, and yet we're going to commit to increasing by 2% or a couple percent for in contract. This seems a little strange.
Anyone else wish to speak at the public hearing regarding the 2017 town budget? I'll close the public hearing. And we'll move to privilege of the floor. And I guess that's another sign-up sheet.
Yeah.
Susan Moulter.
Well, if we approve it, it will.
Folks, I've mentioned the wind farm in Madison County here before, and I'm merely standing up to say I brought a 2-page handout that I copied I made 40 copies, and those, I passed them out before the meeting to those who would take them. I still have more if you didn't get one. It's just to give you a picture from them of how much they like their wind farm. The size, 20 turbines, the scope, which includes growing switchgrass for biofuel. They have something called FREE Center, and FREE stands for Fenner Renewable Energy Environmental Center, Education Center. And they give tours, they give seminars, they have volunteers, they train people to learn about this and take it back to their own home community. And they're excited, they're proud, and I merely share this because this is a different feeling in another community about the same thing. Thank you.
Do you happen to know how far the turbines are from people's homes?
No, I don't. But there's the website is on the bottom of the handout I gave you. I did write down how tall they were, and I've forgotten that. I'm sorry, I don't know the distance.
Dawn Drake.
Don Drake, 105 Griffin Road. I would first like to thank the board for those who have taken the time to listen and understand our concerns. I have stated this at every board meeting. How are you voting on anything tonight without the location of the substation as well as Mr. Gunning's turbine being an issue under the old plan? These are huge issues that need to be figured out before any vote takes place. The road use agreement that is up for action item tonight, I don't even see how you can vote on this not knowing which roads they will need to be using with a substation being such a mystery. Nobody will tell us anything. You don't vote on a plan not knowing the entire route that will be driven on. Why are topics even be put on for action items when you, the board, met with the lawyers, spent time along with paying lawyers out of our pockets to come up with a list of issues that Black Oak Wind Farm needs to comply with? So why are items even up for action or they get taken off and added on yet another meeting, to my knowledge, along with everyone here tonight? They have not completed this list. It's very frustrating as an Enfield resident who cares about our town to sit back and hear all the media outlets around here portray this as a Go Green project that will benefit us. We are not benefiting at all from this. But the side effects, the fear of ice or blade being thrown from one of these massive turbines, or the constant swish of the blades 24/7, never stopping unless it's up for repairs, the infrasound that will possibly make people sick, this will not be a community-based project. It will be immediately sold to a large corporation who will care even less about us, the Black Oak people. Wind farm people, actually, will be. If Black Oak Wind Farm wants this project up and running, they need to comply with all the proper steps, not skip over huge issues and deal with them at a later time. That's not how you run a project. Thank you all for your time, and I ask this of you, no matter how much time is involved, if the list is not completed, the letters from leaseholders not submitted to the board, if the substation and Mr. Gunning's turbine issue are not resolved yet, you don't move forward with anything. No vote, no matter who it is. An investor, a lawyer, a regular person threatening a lawsuit, you represent us. Our safety and health is in our hands and in your hands, and is higher than any project or any amount of money. Please continue to take the proper time needed to make all the steps and being done before anything moves forward with this project. Thank you. And I'd like to congratulate Donald Trump for being the president since Dan did not. Thank you.
Ray Stiefel. Stiefel? Stiefel.
Stiefel,
Oh, I got it wrong, sorry.
336 Rachel Carson Trail. Okay, hi. I spoke last time, and I still feel such, I don't know, disturbance inside of me, because I know, I hear Don. This is a process that should have been done differently. Yeah. However, I think in a way, there's communities like this all over the country that are probably meeting these issues, talking about these issues.
Kind of like the Indians
Yeah,
out west.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's getting worse out there, out at Standing Rock.
I live in
We have to do things differently in this country. Myself personally, I feel that renewable energy is, sorry folks, is the future. But we can't create a future on a foundation of hurt feelings, of economic distress. We really can't.
Thank you.
I think we have to do it, and I'm all for that. I just wanted to present some findings that you might find interesting. These are some of the economic benefits, which I think should be factored in. I mean, there's lots of other things that should be factored in. Your home values, your health, your safety have to be factored in. But these are all documentable benefits, just, you know, to throw it into the mix, that according to this analysis, to be $45,000, it would go directly into the town budget, I suppose.
That's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, general funds, I know. After hearing those numbers, I know, I understand, but let me read a little bit more.
Okay, go ahead.
$133,000 per year in pilot payments to the schools, the county, and the town. Fire department funding of around $20,000 per year, which is about 6% of their budget, I think, roughly. $200,000 in road improvements, Now granted, there will be road damage.
A lot more than that.
Right. Sorry?
I'm just asking if they can let you.
Oh, okay. Everybody can hear me? $80,000 per year in land leasing fees, and that's 1.6 million over 20 years. 40,000 per year in the good neighbor payments. That's 800,000 over 20 years, and again, it's a small. Okay. And local construction spending of an estimated 500,000. So over the next 20 years, Black Oak is estimated to bring over $6 million in direct payments to local residents, businesses, and agencies. So it's just something to think about.
Can I just say something? What if property values drop to nothing, and then our taxes drop, and then the rest of the town eats it?
I understand.
Yeah.
I believe there, in the proposal, Black Oak proposal, that there was some provision for that.
That was nothing.
No.
Take back the money that they're giving.
This is privilege of the floor. It is one speaker at a time. It is directed to the town board. Now, you can have a private or public conversation. This is a town board meeting. We are conducting business of the town. It is not one of those town hall hearings
Yeah.
in New England. It's not.
But I just want to end by
Direct
saying,
yourself towards the board, not us.
I just,
Well, that'd be a start.
There you go, thank you.
was that for me? I didn't hear that.
That was for you,
That
right?
was for
To
you.
direct yourself to the board.
Okay,
Yeah.
hi guys.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a little awkward here.
It's okay. We're listening.
Thank you.
I promise.
Okay, there, hopefully in any such endeavor, there will be economic benefits to those people who have the potential of suffering economic losses. It's not gonna work otherwise, nobody will go for it. So I just wanna be starting or continuing a conversation that will ensure people that they at least have the economic underpinning of the project, whether or not it goes forward for other reasons, at least hopefully. I mean, that's what I would like, and that economic benefit to everybody. Okay?
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Nancy Spiro.
Hi, I'm Nancy Spiro. I live at 68 North Van Dorn Road. And I just noticed in the agenda that was put out that there's going to be discussion about becoming a lead agency for 2 solar projects proposed by Delaware River Solar. And I don't know anything about this company or, you know, how much you folks know about it yet, so I'm not. But I am concerned that there are still no regulations added to the site plan or any laws or guidelines related to solar farms in Enfield, and I would just want to caution the board about taking on a new project before you have guidelines in place. And I understand from Dan and other discussions that you were talking about adding some to the site plan review or possibly doing a law, but the last I heard was to the site plan review. So that was my concern, is I'm just a word of caution about taking on something new, especially with a company that it's not local, that we don't know anything about. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Teresa Dollar.
Fuller. 738 Black Oak Road. I just want to thank the board for everything you guys have been doing for us. I'm emotionally, physically drained from this entire process. And since I can't talk because I might get threatened to get sued or have a gag order on me, I'd like to take my 3 minutes that I'm entitled to and have a moment of silence so everybody can sit and think about that for a minute as I hold back tears with this entire process. Thank you. So you can start the clock.
time. Thank you. Marcus Gingrich.
Marcus Gingrich, 101 Rumsey Hill Road. Silence is golden. I do want to thank you guys on the board for really putting a lot of work in. I've kind of seen a little bit what goes on, and I have a lot more appreciation for what goes on, and I really do appreciate your effort. I do want to express some concerns. I see that the agenda has changed yet again. I saw one that came out a couple of days ago that said there was, the action items were going to be the fire and emergency plan and the road use agreement. Now it's just the road use agreement and a resolution on FOIL. This just seems to keep happening over and over again. And with all that's going on, I don't know how you guys keep this straight unless there's a lot of communication, behind the scenes. But it seems like so often things show up here at the board meetings, and I'm not sure that you guys have had a lot of time to think about it, talk about it, and really consider it. And that I find very concerning. As Dawn mentioned, this whole thing about not even knowing the full plan for the wind farm. How can you consider a road use agreement? There's been many of these times these agreements have come up, and without knowing the full plan, you can't really make an educated assessment of the plan, whether or not it's even accurate. And now also again, I mean, now we're potentially going to be deciding on whether to become a lead agency on for seeker on this proposed solar. You guys got a lot on your plate already. I think, yeah, we've got to do what we've got to do, but I don't know. It seems like there's too many times there are things that are getting swept under the carpet. The letter, the draft letter, I know that says something about a letter from, the draft letter that's supposed to go to Black Oak Wind Farm says something about a letter from, I believe, Rich Teeter, but there's no mention of, but I believe it was discussed at the last board meeting, maybe it was after the fact, but no mention of a letter from Downey Gunning as far as whether or not his turbines would move. And there's also some other issues with some of the other turbines having to move depending on the size. It seems like there's a lot of details, and I'm really concerned that a lot of these details are falling through the cracks. Yeah, I commend you guys for taking it all on. My hat's off to you for all the work you're putting in, but I just hope that the time, the effort, the diligence can be put in to make sure that the plans are known, the plans are right, that things are done right. There's a lot of people up there in that area that have a lot of concerns. I am one of them. And it would just be good to know that you guys are taking them seriously. I know you are, but if there's anything we can help, we're here to help. I try to read over the documents as much as I can, but I realize you guys can't get all the details all the time either, so thanks.
Thank you.
May I have a quick response to that?
Sure, if you wish.
You did say a lot of things there, Marcus. And a lot of it is valid, certainly, in considering. And just to go back and address the first thing you were saying with the agenda, it did change, and to be honest, I'm really thankful that we're even getting the agendas ahead of time and being able to deal with them. At the same time, though, there's a lot for Ann to keep track of, and she, if any of us, is definitely overloaded with stuff to do, especially this time of year with the budget and everything that's going on. So just the fact that she keeps up and keeps doing the new budgets when they happen and get them out to us and stuff is pretty good. And she does communicate to us and tell us, what's going on and stuff. So you should know that that is happening, and we're trying to do the best we can in relation to that. And all the other things that you talked about, I think we'll have to keep them in mind too. So thanks for bringing it up.
Tammy Ailing.
Tammy Elaine, 203 Hines Road. Just want to say, I agree with Mike on, I don't know which meeting it was, there's so many anymore, about the statement that you can go to any situation, any topic, and you can find pros and cons. I just looked up one of the sites, and they did have a blade fall off. I think it was only 200-foot structure. It was one of the same blades or same turbine that was moved from another one to another one. There's pros and cons about everything. But unfortunately, we're going to be 483, I believe, feet, which is more than double the amount. So it's a little different story. And you know, honestly, I'm not going to have to live right next to one of those, but I'm going to see it through my travels to and from work on the other side of Ithaca. And I do feel really bad for the people that are there because they just can't pick up and move. They just can't change their life. This is the life that they've had for many, many years, and I think it's really sad that they're going to be faced with it if it does go in, when it does go in, whatever the situation is. And it just seems like a lot of people are forgetting that fact that they don't have a choice. There's no choices for them. Flicker, you don't even know what flicker is. I didn't know what flicker was. All these definitions of things I didn't even know. And honestly, I mean, I sat at a restaurant, like I said last week, I didn't even know until someone mentioned it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible. Certain times of the day, if you're outside, if you're retired or homeschooling, or if you're staying there, there's other situations I'm sure I'm not even aware of that these people are going to have to deal with every single day. So that should be a topic that those things should be considered also. And I think that the board has looked at that quite extensively. And I hope that they continue to think about that. But the people that are there, not just, they are still part of this town, and I feel for them, and I think most of you do too. And it's pretty sad that they're going to have to live with that. Like I said, 24 hours, 7 days a week. So, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Riddle.
Ron Riddle, 235 Harvey Hill Road. It's interesting, I was watching this documentary, Windfall. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but it could be the exact same situation with the faces changed. You know, it's incredibly the same, and the blackout people is the same way as these other wind farms. You know, do the same techniques, the same mining techniques of not telling people, trying to sneak things past, lying about stuff, not even, and to me, money should not be our concern. These people are going to be, their health is at risk, their property value is at risk. There's nothing that the people, unless they want one in their yard, which they would be, totally fine by me to do that. But these people don't want that. And I don't think they should be forced. I think being forced to do that, signing some lame agreement called the Good Neighbor Agreement to just shut them up, is just unconscionable. I'm quite frankly sick of it. I've heard it all way too many times, and I've stood up and said the same thing way too many times. People need to be caring about the people in this town. I see 2 or 3 people on the board possibly that seem to do that. Everything else seems to be about money. And I don't think that is any way to proceed. And also the truth. These health risks and health factors are out there. They're not some made up, stuff by crazy people. If the black wind farm people want to have wind turbines in their yards, go for it. But I don't think that the people of this town do. They shouldn't be forced to. They shouldn't have their property value decreased. They shouldn't have their health at risk. No one's going around to them and saying, look, let's talk about it. Let's see what's going on. Let's find out how we can work with you. No, nobody seems to care about that. And quite frankly, I'm really sick of it. I think you should be ashamed of yourselves, really. Really should.
Thank you.
Can I respond to that?
You care to?
I appreciate what you say and what you feel. I do have to say, I think everybody on the board cares about people. It's really a complicated thing, and there's a lot of people to consider and a lot of different ways to care, and I think each of us is kind of choosing our own bastion to say we're coming from here, which is what you're gonna get when you got a board, but I think your comments are great, but don't think that everybody on the board doesn't care, because I really think they do.
I'll just respond to that really quickly. I just wish I would hear something about that. I know that I've heard it from certain people,
Well,
you know, and I have not heard it from other people.
you just gotta keep coming.
And I think that
we'll
the
get there.
town would feel a lot more, you know, better about people if they actually felt there was that happening.
It's a long process.
And it could be happening, and we just don't see it. And that's totally true, you know, that could completely be true. But, you know, all I'm saying is communication, there should be some, as opposed to trying to have as little as possible
I
and push the damn thing
agree with you
through.
wholeheartedly on that one,
Okay.
for sure.
Does anybody else want to speak the privilege of the floor?
I would like to.
Mr. Fisher, you want to sign, please? There's a lot of spaces up here, Will.
Okay, I'll get a space up there. I just wanted to mention that about 2 months ago.
Your name and address, please.
Gary Fisher, 329 Buck Hill Road South. Back at the end of September, I took a trip to East Aurora and drove up 20A. I don't know if anybody else on the board has done that. But as you go up 20A and you get beyond Morris and Letchworth State Park going on up that way, there are more windmills than you can possibly count. And in fact, you cannot, driving up that highway, you cannot look in any direction and not see the massive arms moving. And literally, looking at that, you get vertigo. I'm serious. It was just, I couldn't believe it. You couldn't see anything that was peaceful within the whole horizon, looking from side to side. And it goes on mile after mile after mile. And I think about that in Enfield here. We got, you know, we're putting these near the tallest point in Enfield. And everybody's going to be looking at those. You're going to see those, you know, just moving. And looking in that direction now, you see a nice peaceful hillside there. I can remember artists coming out and setting up their easels on the Harvey Hill Road and painting the hillside up there where, you know, they're talking about putting the windmills up. And it just seems to me that doing that and putting those there and in Enfield, it just detracts from the quality of life that we have here in Enfield and have enjoyed for years. And so, if you haven't been up that way and, you know, you want to take a trip, go up there and see what that looks like. But I just think it's just one more thing that needs to be considered. It's just as it detracts from the quality of life. Thank you. She's got her own.
Thanks.
There's a few more to her.
I see their hands. Jude?
So I see the agenda changed again, but, so I'll try and adjust my comments. I see that the road use agreement is still on the agenda, and I guess the community relations and dispute resolution plan, I thought the board was gonna wait for a package from Black Oak. And just a reminder that with respect to that letter that you're going to send to Black Oak, you don't address talking to Donnie Gunning and getting a letter from Donnie Gunning regarding the fact that they can't move the turbine, which is currently 181 feet from the Tesori's property line in the plan, and it needs to be moved, and they don't have the legal right to move it, so they should address that as well. And I don't think the board should be issuing a wind permit if Black Oak can't demonstrate that they can put that turbine on Donnie's land where they say they're gonna put it. And obviously, they can't build the substation where they say they're gonna build it. And I don't know how the board's making a decision about the road use agreement until they know exactly where the substation's going. Some of the collection lines to the substation also have to be moved. And you don't know where at least one of the turbines is going, so I don't know how you address the road use agreement until that's been addressed. I'm glad to see that there's a resolution on the agenda to see if you can recover the FOIL fees, since I think that the developers agreement is more than broad enough to do that. And finally, I'm not sure why we're giving Enfield Community Council a 2% increase when we're trying to keep everybody flat for the budget. Beth McGee.
Beth McGee, Tupper Road. I just want to thank you. I just want to thank everybody for their support. I do enjoy working on this board, and I look forward to working on it again. And I'm really grateful to Michael for stepping up and taking this spot while I've been gone, and for his diligent work and commitment to it.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I'd also like to add to what Tammy was saying. We often hear people who come here from other communities and try to convince neighbors that this is going to be good for them to have a wind farm here, but the Fenner wind farm is a really bad example to come with, because they actually had a tower collapse completely to the ground in 2009, and the blade that flew off in February of this year was 113 feet. So their wind turbines there are 325 feet generally, and the ones we're getting are close to 500. So it's a little bit different. We have no idea what their setbacks are. One person that was interviewed, their property was 900 feet away from where this turbine fell. So perhaps that's a little bit better setback than what might be allowed in some of these other situations. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's still not one that we would feel safe with having, even at 900 feet. So while I appreciate people coming and trying to convince us that this is a great idea, perhaps better examples might be best suited for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I respond to that real quick? I think, Beth, you're going to have to start reading that stuff, like starting now. Have it all read by January 1st, because there's so much information in there, and it's. We'll work on trying to help you bring it up to speed, but it took me months and months and months to get through it all.
You'll have to have a meeting to have a smooth takeover.
A transition plan.
Transition.
Months and months ahead of time.
Well, you could start Thursday. Right. Mimi Mahaffey.
Amy Mahaffey, 115 West Enfield Center Road. I wasn't going to speak, but then these two numbers keep popping out at me. And I've heard them at the neighborhood gatherings where people are brainstorming. And one is that there's 86 families, according to Black Oak, in that project area. So it's pretty residential. That's a lot. It felt like a lot to me. And the other was that the way one of the turbines stands now, the sweep of the blade, when it's directed towards her property, will be, the end of the blade will be 10 feet from her property. And those two numbers keep those, put it in real perspective for me, because I thought about that, and I was like, I thought they were further away, and then you realize you measure them from the center of the tower, you don't measure them and to the property line, you don't measure them from the tip of the blade, so these things are huge, and 10 feet from a property line doesn't feel very safe to me. Thank you.
Beverly Gingrich.
101 Rosie Hill Road. You know, they say that it's very rare that accidents happen, but Fenner was mentioned, and I don't know if anyone saw that at the beginning of October, in Hawaii, major parts of a wind turbine at the 21 megawatt Oahe wind project on Maui separated from the tower structure and fell to the ground, shutting down the entire project. No one was injured. There's no pictures, so, you know, I don't know how close the houses were, but it happens. And on September 28th, I had the privilege of meeting a gentleman who was walking past our house as he was hiking the North Country Trail. And he stopped a little bit for a drink, and we had a very nice chat. And of course, he saw signs around, and he asked, you know, what was going on. And I explained to him a little bit, and I will quote what he wrote in his journal that night. I learned a little about the local controversy over the siting of a wind power farm. Some of the turbines would be only a few hundred yards from homes. I noted my experience sleeping under these while hiking and described the sound they make. The developer, now I don't know if he's quoting me exactly, the developer has said they are silent, which is far from the case. And then a couple nights later, I believe he was near Cornell, somewhere in Howard County, where there's other turbines, and this is another quote from his journal. The next several miles led me past a wind farm. I was surprised how irritating the whoosh of those giant wind turbines was. There are several on the ridge tops near me, and even though I'm a good half mile from the nearest turbine, I can hear the noise, which is kind of like a constant roar of traffic. I will be using my earplugs tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak at privilege of the floor?
Since I was asked a question I could not answer, I'll get that information to the board about the setback in Benner.
Fenner. Okay, thank you. Consent agenda is next. Does anyone wish to have anything pulled from the consent agenda and dealt with separately?
I have a question on one of the vouchers. It was number 333, I believe.
Well, I want the audit claims pulled and spoken about, handled separately, and that would be an audit claim, right? The consent agenda consists of the approval of 2 sets of minutes, the regular meeting of October 12, 16, and a special meeting that was held 10/26/16, and the budget amendments, which I forgot to put the numbers in. So it's budget amendments 2016-24 through 2016-29. I move that these 2 items be approved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant? Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Nay.
Councilperson Miles?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
I think that went a little too fast.
Okay, Henry, you want to go first with your concern?
Yeah, we've got a voucher number 333, legal services for $3,560. And a lot of these legal services are for Guy Crow, Balf-related things. And
You don't approve the way it's coded?
yeah, it looks like the town's paying for it, or am I mistaken?
No, you're not mistaken.
Well, why would the town be paying for Balf-related reviews by Guy Crow?
Well, I'll have him give me an opinion on whether they're
I mean, this
legitimate to pass on to the project.
These aren't FOIL requests. These are involving SECRA and a lot of other items.
Yeah, I didn't see any FOIL request in those.
So, I
But
mean,
don't we typically pay up front and then we ask for reimbursement?
Well,
So you would ask for reimbursement for those typically?
I certainly will ask if they're appropriate to recode.
Ask
Guy.
Guy, right. And it's the coding that identifies whether they're appropriate to go to the wind farm or not.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, good.
so I don't understand why this wasn't coded to be billed by Black Oak.
I got the bill yesterday. And quite frankly, most charges to Guy aren't recoverable. But I'll certainly go through the process and ask him.
I think our developers agreement would cover
Well,
that.
he's aware of the developer's agreement.
And it's not a FOIL specific. These
No.
aren't FOIL specific items.
No, but I bet they're gray areas because the time for the meetings without the public being there are probably in that bill.
Yes,
And,
they're not gonna be able to be passed on to the
well,
project.
there certainly is a question there in my mind and probably in Henry's mind too, that what we
I'll
talked
ask-
about in that meeting would not be part of the wind farm.
I'll certainly ask him.
Okay, that'd be helpful. Because this looks to me like the kind of billing that the developer's agreement was specifically written to protect the town from. And this is supposed to be a money-making deal for the town, and so far it just cost us money. And I'm not happy about that.
So is there a procedure to pull that particular invoice from the package and then vote on
The
it without it?
bookkeeper can recode it later.
But right now, if we're gonna vote on those vouchers, the total of them is in the voucher total that's listed, right?
Mhm.
So do we have to subtract that particular voucher, or does that voucher get approved and then we just work on recoding?
I think the professional thing to do would be to approve it and recode it when I get the information.
And then see what kind of reimbursement we can get, if any, from Black Oak?
Yes. Yes. I also want to bring the board's attention to the highway fund balance sheet, and I believe all of you have been, oh, maybe you haven't. Oh, Michael Miles didn't. There's one extra packet.
Thank you.
It's a one-sheet page, page. It says balance sheet at the top of it. So everybody has it available. I want to bring your attention to this. The highway checking account and the highway fund savings do not have enough money in them to support payment of the bills that have been presented. Also, this is of Friday will be a little inaccurate. About $10,000 is being paid for payroll Thursday at midnight. And there will be another payroll in 2 weeks, and actually, this is just about enough money to guarantee payment of payroll for the rest of the year, which I see as a very important priority for us.
I think it is.
At the time that the CHIPS reimbursement comes in, there will be money in the coffers. However, I have no idea when that money will come in. And if all of these vouchers are approved tonight, we will overdraw the highway monies.
And can you do an inter-fund loan transfer from the general fund or not?
Yes, we can.
Would
but,
that be
it's-
typical, or would that not be something you'd want to do?
No, it's not liked by the controllers.
If we factor in the CHIPS reimbursement, and as Buddy says before, it's a reimbursement, not.
Yes.
Would that cover all our expenses through the remainder of the year?
Yes.
Once we got, okay.
Yes.
So it's a matter of covering it temporarily till we have that reimbursement.
We have no guarantee it's gonna come in this year. We hope it's gonna come in.
What would you suggest then?
I think we should pull the soup coat voucher from the audit.
And do they have a 30-day, 60-day payment schedule?
Probably.
And so you pay 1% or something if you go to 60 days, something like that. So basically,
And I would like to urge the highway superintendent to put CHIPS reimbursement in a much more timely manner.
that would make sense.
Yeah. The first one that you can put in is in May. Now, that may not be able to be a very big one because you haven't bought much gravel yet.
You haven't done your
But
road work.
I get no notice of when the reimbursement is put in.
How many have been put in so far? Do we know?
I have no idea.
So how much
One
is
he's
the
put in,
soup
and it
bill?
should be here by December.
How much is the soup cook bill?
Seems like it's
28?
40, is it 28?
Well, I can't remember. It's
Yeah, I know.
It's in there.
It kind of sticks out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big number.
It's a big number.
But if we pull it for now, at least for 1 month, does that
Mm-hmm.
give us the cash reserves we need to pay the rest of the items in there?
Oh. Oh, it's $28,665.
That's Suco.
Suco.
And the total of the highway audit funds going out is,
I don't have it.
I think it's in front of Henry over there.
There's also a health insurance bill that
No, it's-
really needs to be paid too. And that's $5,400.
Do you have a copy of that, Alice?
I have the totals here. The
I,
highway fund is $43,430
The total of the invoices?
of the
so
highway.
if you
yeah.
subtract 28,665 from that and,
Leaves about 15,000.
That makes one payroll.
one payroll is about 10,000.
Okay, so
About 40,745. Is that right?
For,
Wait. If you have,
you take the 43 and subtract 28.
oh, I took the wrong one. Sorry, 43,430. 28,665. 14,765. 14,000. Yeah.
14 and change, yeah.
So that,
So that plus the payroll is
Yeah.
about 25 or so,
right,
which
leaves us within,
leaves us within the money in the savings.
well, we're going to have Alice, did I hear you say you thought it would be in by the first part of December?
Right, and it depends whether you have put in for it to be put electronically into the account or if you have to wait for the check. You always have that option to,
Well, I never
do
get a
it.
copy, so I have no idea.
So
Well,
probably-
well,
So I
the-
guess
well-
we better be conservative and think a check is gonna come.
you can't, it can be put in if the supervisor or
Um,
bookkeeper determined to do it that way.
If what?
If you determine to do it that way and talk to them, they will do it electronically.
I don't have anything to do with it.
The money coming in,
No, but you don't have any way to communicate with them, it's only through Buddy.
so Buddy has to determine it? Buddy has to contact them?
No. And my understanding is that it has to be done through the
Through the supervisor?
supervisor, yeah.
Okay.
And I think, well, I'm sure
Well,
it's online, the
supervisor has
information. but
never
it's-
been given one iota of information.
Well, it's so we can get up to speed, right?
Right, you can do it for next time, but everything, before anything can be reimbursed, not only does the money all have to be spent, but the checks to pay for that have to come back.
Ah.
And you have to provide a copy of the canceled check before it can be submitted to the state. So there's a process
So
before.
so the question then is the amount of money coming back in chips already,
It's the full amount that is available.
right, but if we take out that suit coat money, do we still have a total that's up to the total amount of the chips money coming back?
Yes.
So we could do it without the chips, without the.
We
suit
don't
coat.
know whether that was submitted or not.
Yes, it was. I was told it was.
You were told it was.
Yes. And Debbie and I provided all the copies, and Debbie watched for the last canceled check to come in, and as soon as that came in, it could be submitted. So she was checking the account.
So it sounds like we could be safe to put suit coat off for a month, pay the extra 1%, or whatever it may be, which is gonna be, what, $280? Or $500 if it's 2%.
Yeah, I
And-
don't know what the vouchers, if it says on the voucher what the
Yeah.
late fee is.
Does it have a thing on the voucher, Henry, that says
I've got the voucher.
1% if not paid and?
Oh, no, I didn't take a copy of the voucher.
I think it's right on the top there.
Or, I
No, the
did
one
take
that,
a
the
copy
suit
of
coat
the
one.
No, this is not. This
Yeah.
Oh,
is
that's
there.
not it. Okay.
It would be
Those are
number,
legal services.
number 198
Oh, sorry.
in there.
Full of your chips for next
198.
No, this soup coat money is in addition to what can be reimbursed, but he put in the full amount of reimbursement, so.
It's on the second sheet. Well, the board is ultimately responsible for the
1.5%
highway budget
over 30 days. So it'll
as
be-
well as the general fund budget.
So it costs us about $400 to wait a month. Be better to spend the $400 or transfer money, what do you think?
I think we should keep it clean and chips fall where they may,
So to speak.
so to speak. And I would really like to urge the highway superintendent to put in, if you have to put in 2 reimbursements, you have to put in 2 reimbursements, because the cash flow ain't working.
Well, do we need to do any resolution-y things for that, or can we just decide to do it and just do it that way? Just pull it out of the,
Well, you can pull it out and
approve a lesser amount?
approve a lesser amount.
Anybody else have thoughts on which way we should do it?
That's $420.
It's $400, yeah, about, give or take.
Yeah, it's
Along
only-
with whatever way Ann thinks is best, I guess.
Well, it doesn't sound like the controller likes to see it or.
No.
No, so,
I know.
I can get that. But I think, not even down the road there, but there'd be some other way of communicating how this is going on with chips. Totally speaks to unmanageability to me.
I'm gonna surrogately speak for Buddy here, and say, I think that's okay to do with suit coat, but you do have to realize that when you don't pay a bill, on time, and you wait for a month, then people that you have bought the services or materials from definitely begin to think slightly less of you at that point and trust you just a little bit less anyways in the future in terms of giving you credit. I'm not thinking that's likely to happen in this case, but I always try and watch in my business that try and pay people on time and they like you better next time when you do that. So
But you have to keep your bank account.
you gotta keep your bank account, yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
sometimes you just gotta say, can't pay you now, next week, next month, whatever. I think it would be appropriate of us to let the people at Suco know, should we decide not to pay them this month, to tell them why it happened, so that they understand. And that would be helpful.
Fair.
I mean, if we say we're waiting for CHIPS money to come in and we don't have any money, then they won't figure that we're just ignoring them. They'll understand why, probably. You know, you could even say to them, we've been paying on time, and we probably have been paying on time for many, many past years. Could you just give us a break on this invoice and realize that because of the way the CHIPS money come in, we're gonna pay you as soon as possible, and charge us 0.5% rather than 1.5%, $150 rather than $400, just that, you know, we don't mind paying a little bit on it, but since we're not intentionally, the reason they put those percentages on usually is to make you pay the bill, make you remember to pay the bill on time. And it's just kind of a punitive thing more than anything. Not to say they don't like the extra money, because they do, but I think most businesses would rather get paid on time than they would get paid 2, 3, 4 months late with percentages added on to it, you know, as it goes along. So if somebody were to call Suco and ask them if they would forego at least a part of the penalty payment on the bill, they might be willing to do that even. Usually people are pretty friendly like that. Save us $200 or $300 maybe.
I think that's an excellent idea. It's basic business practice.
Yeah, it pretty much is, yeah.
So does somebody want to read the audit without the Suco bill? The total?
I don't have it. Is it?
I think he's got it right there.
Ah, here it is. So what was the number? Yeah,
28.
but the
Oh,
number
the
of the 28 subtracted.
I believe it's 14,765, but I didn't do the cents, but I can figure that exactly.
765.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, 96 cents and 28. 665. 16. 79 cents.
And Henry, are you okay with paying the Guy Crow?
No, not really, but,
Well, that's how it always happens. And then we bill, after we pay, we bill, like us.
I was just discussing, I was getting the impression that you'd have to discuss it with Guy
Yeah,
first, and you
yeah,
didn't
to
know-
recode that bill, I have to discuss it with Guy. Yeah,
And that's the way it's always done?
yeah.
The town pays Black Oak related review costs from Guy, and then you discuss it with Guy later and decide that Black Oak should have been billed.
Mhm. Same way we
I
did
think
with,
that's-
same way we did with,
That's true.
Harris Beach.
Well, I saw another bill for Harris Beach, and they were all
Right.
billed right to Black Oak. Looks like.
That's
You just
what kind of
approved
guy.
them. Yeah. You just are gonna just approve them.
Yeah,
And then it gets categorized against their account.
the Harris Beach bills had a different code line.
That's right.
That was
That's
billed to
right.
Black Oak, right?
No,
No?
no.
Sure, that's the escrow account line, isn't
the
it?
escrow account.
Which is Black Oak.
Well, it's not magic that a bill gets generated to Black Oak, it's not magic. It is
I
done
believe
like
it's not
this.
magic, but I'm having a little trouble understanding it. So the Harris Beach bills are billed to Black Oak's escrow.
Mhm. And when that gets down, then they're supposed to replenish it.
So,
And they have to be notified that it's down, and
so why are the Harris Beach review costs billed to Black Oak, billed to their escrow, but not Guy Crow's Black Oak bills?
very few of them are attributable.
I think because
To the review
since
costs.
Guy works for the town in town-related things and for Black Oak-related things, it may be that he doesn't feel like it's his job, or maybe he doesn't feel knowledgeable enough that he can decide which of those invoices, what of those hours should be billed to Black Oak and what should be billed to the town, and he's leaving it up to our discretion to decide that. Is that the case in the past?
Pretty much.
And also the Harris Beach is more cut and dry because we
Harris Beach is
Because
more
they only
cut
do
and
Black
dry.
Oak stuff,
because
right?
it is
Or-
project specific.
Well, when I see Bauf and Secra and these bills from Guy Crow, that,
Triggers you.
yeah, it seems like it's related to Black Oak Wind Farm when it says Bauf on it. But
Yeah, I think he probably just doesn't put the coding in himself to go to the escrow account. He leaves it up to us, so we have to make sure that we get it right.
Okay, so I will ask Guy about the October bill.
Can we bring that information back to the next meeting so we
Yeah.
understand it better? That'd be great.
Will that reduce our escrow amount below what should be triggered to replenish it?
Do the math.
Have to wait and see how much it is.
Yeah. Well, after the Harris Beach gets paid.
Oh, that's true, right?
And Harris Beach is, Harris Beach is 6,308.
Right, so that's all going, yeah.
Because I didn't take a reading on the escrow account
So we don't know what
prior
the
to this meeting.
That's something we should
Over
determine.
3,000. Pardon me? It's a little over 3,000 at the end of October.
So it sounds like we need to trigger another letter to replenish that amount.
Sure.
I think the threshold was 2,000. It was below 2,000. And the Harris Beach will put us in a negative. Yeah.
Okay, you want to read a motion for the audit claims?
Want me to read it?
Sure.
The town board authorizes the supervisor to pay general fund vouchers 310 to 335 dated 11/9/16 in the amount of $35,898.26. Highway fund vouchers 186 to 202 dated 11/9/16 in the amount of $14,765.79.
One of those numbers is gonna just soup coat the end number,
Right, has to come out of there. No, it was,
with the exception of,
something, what was the number on the Suco
So
one?
quote 198.
with the exception of.
Okay. Need to be read again, or is that okay?
With
I'm
the
okay.
exception of.
Okay, I put it on the thing, and Alice has got it on the record, so.
what was the number?
198 is being,
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Give that to Alice.
Call the vote?
What's that, Mike?
Give it to Alice.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson Miles?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. Tracy and Larry Salzgiver wrote a letter to the board regarding the very nice job that the highway department did at 464 and 468 Enfield Center Road East. A sinkhole had appeared in their driveway, and examination revealed the culverts in two driveways had rusted out, and running culverts were undermining a large area in front of both residences. The problem was compounded by the fact that the degree of the pitch at that location on the hillside would require some extreme ditching to repair the damage. By reconstructing the culvert drainage with the addition of a storm drain between the two properties, the excavation was kept to a minimal amount, but did require some planning and time-consuming excavation. The entire crew took great pains to see that the job was completed with minimal impact on traffic in and out of both residences, and not only finished the job in a reasonable time frame, considering they had to work around scheduled highway paving commitments with adjoining township highway departments. Buddy Rollins and his highway crew are commended for their concern and cooperation during the job completion, and we commend them with a job well done. And I gave them a copy of the letter and a dozen donuts on Friday.
Thank you.
Yeah, they got eaten. I was assured they would get eaten. I came after break time, but I was assured they'd get eaten. We got a letter from Richard Snyder, County Director of Finance. It's basically about the third quarter sales tax report. We do not get sales tax per se. We have opted out, and we get some other payment from the county. But anyway, that's a letter. Culligan took over Chemung Spring Water effective September 1st. Oh, yeah. And so now the bill says Culligan instead of Chemung Spring Water. And they send a nice, not much nicer bill. We received a letter from Eggs and Markets. They inspected the shelter that our contract agency uses for dog control, and it met inspection. They also did a dog control officer inspection report, which is enclosed, and it was satisfactory. The town of Ulysses sent us a letter because we're an interested agency under seeker. It's regarding the town of Ulysses disinfection byproduct removal project, Water District Number 3. The proposed project includes incorporating a total, I can't even say it, TTHM, trihalomethane removal system in the existing ground storage tank located at the intersection of Van Doren Corners Road and Iredale Road, in combination with a dedicated inlet outlet. Incorporating a dedicated inlet outlet to the ground storage tank will ensure that water moving through the system to the terminus, Cold Springs Road, will enter and be treated by this TTHM removal system, further reducing TTHM within Water District Number 3. No new Water District extensions is proposed as part of this project. Town of Ulysses Town Board is currently in the process of establishing itself as lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review. The enclosed information has been sent to your agency because it has been determined you might have some interest in the project. If so, we need to contact Town of Ulysses. Code Officer, Mr. Code Officer, off the top of your head, I never shared this with you. Do we have some interest in this project?
I would think probably not, since it only comes to the town line.
Yeah, it's the town line.
I'm
Planning
not-
Board Chairman.
I'm not sure why the town, this is a project on that tank, which I'm familiar with what they're doing. The water district is adjacent to the town, so they have to notify the county planning before approvals. I don't know why the town of Enfield would be an involved agency, because you have you're not funding it, and there's no one in the town that's in that water district. So it happens to be within 500 feet of the border, which requires a notification of the county planning department.
Well, they have determined we're an interested agency. Do we have any reason to comment?
I don't think so. I mean, the tank is there, and
I mean, it'll be in the town clerk's office if it occurs to anyone that there should be
I'll call Ulysses to see what their thought was, because I can't see how we'd be involved with that at all.
they have a planning person, I assume.
Yeah.
I assume she's involved
Work with them. So
or knowledgeable.
Is this the one right off Iredell?
Yeah, it's that tank.
A blue tank?
Off Iredell there.
Van Dorn and Iredell.
Yeah, there's a blue tank on the left. And,
Yeah. It's not in the town of Enfield at all.
No, it looks like it's on the other, just on the other side of the road.
Don't we go to Iredell for the fire district? Just curious. I think Iredell's are close, are stopping.
I think one side of the road.
I don't think that both sides of the road are, I think
No, no,
the
I'm curious.
line is at the center
Right, I
of
think
the
the fire
road.
district
I know we go
stops
to
it.
Iredell, I wasn't sure how
Yeah, I
far.
think one side is Enfield.
I mean, I'm sure that with the mutual assistance agreements, if you need water, you can
I was
get
just
it from
curious.
those lines.
I know we
but
go to Iredell, and that's it, but that's.
but there's, I still don't know why the town of Enfield would have any approval authority over anything there, so.
Maybe we only have comment authority.
Normally, you wouldn't be
Notified.
notified or wouldn't be an involved agency unless you had some part of that project that you had to approve.
Oh,
But there, I don't, unless you want to extend our site plan review law to Ulysses, but we don't want to do that.
I wouldn't think so. And then I got this. Oh, here's one for Alice. Municipal Zero Emission Vehicle and ZEV Infrastructure Rebate Program. So read it at your leisure. And if you think this is anything that the town should apply for, I don't think we qualify because I don't think we've done anything, but it was correspondence. Jim isn't here. He's still celebrating, and Dave's probably still celebrating too. And the highway superintendent's not with us tonight. Code officer's report. And for this, during his report, you need to go down through your stack of papers and find the Williamson piece of paper.
First report for October, it was kind of a slow month. I just issued 3 permits for a total of 55 for the year. Issued one certificate of compliance, did a total of 16 inspections and progress checks, and did one fire and safety inspection for a public assembly. The other thing I wanted to bring to the board was a proposal from Williamson Law for a software program for code enforcement officers, or code enforcement offices. I've become a little bit familiar with this, and I think it's probably a good idea for the town to purchase something like this for code enforcement, to better track records, track properties, better reporting. So I contacted Williamson and got a proposal from them. I talked to the supervisor. It looks like I have enough money in this year's budget to cover the cost of the initial software. And I believe there's enough money in future budgets to cover the annual support.
Is this an upgrade or is it something entirely new?
This is entirely new. When I first started here, I think there was something here that was never really utilized, so it's all been paperwork now and making copies of it, which isn't always the best way to do it.
Yeah.
What does this exactly do?
It goes and imports all the information from county assessment on all the properties in the town. So every time I do a permit, it comes up automatically. I search the property, it comes up, I enter that, and then it prints it out and saves it.
Oh, so that
same
means
with-
make sure that we get taxed for every time we do an improvement to our property, right?
Yeah, and then actually it goes back to assessment. They can get a copy of it.
Maybe
so.
we shouldn't buy that.
I mean, they already get it now, but it's harder for them and harder for me.
So it might pay for itself.
It probably will pay for itself by the time it all gets said and done.
Most other townships have some sort of program. So.
Did you say you have used it?
Excuse me?
Did you say you have experimented with it? You've used it?
I
you
have, in
like it?
case you don't know, the code enforcement officer in Newfield left a couple months ago, and I've been filling in, at least temporarily, in Newfield, and doing code enforcement there, and they have the program. So I've worked with them and decided it was pretty nice. Makes
They,
a lot of sense.
they like it too.
All right.
Yeah.
And the town has Williamson for the bookkeeper and the town clerk now already, so it's a company we're familiar with.
Well,
But-
they're the company that meshes with the New York State Comptroller's office, so that you, and I assume this one meshes with some state,
It does it with the Department of State.
with the
Division
Department
Code,
of
so-
State. And that's the advantage.
So assumably, over the course of years, this is gonna save you a significant amount of time, so.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
And much better for record keeping, which I think
I was
is
gonna say, but much better for record keeping and getting information.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it used in other towns smaller than ours where it's in New York State where you can get information. I've had to get it for myself for property, so
Sure.
it's a no-brainer.
And you can go to property and you instantly look up all the past permits that they've ever had out, so.
Oh, we should have such a
So we should
thing.
bite the bullet and do it.
Yeah, apparently I have money left over this year to pay for it now, so I think it's probably a good time.
So we don't need to even tell you, right? You can just do it.
Ann suggested I bring it to the board for approval, so I
That's
am
not the
doing
way
that.
Ellen does business.
Since it's over $3,000 or something like that.
Correct. And it's just good policy to bring it to the board, so.
Sounds good. Do we vote on this then, Ann? Or do we just say, sounds good?
You vote to authorize me to sign the contract.
I'd like to make a motion that we authorize Ann Ryder, as supervisor, to sign the contract with Williamson for the software that Alan will be using in the building department.
Second.
And then there's an ongoing
Cost,
support cost.
yeah. And include the ongoing support cost.
And actually, I reduced my budget line this year from previous years. I think it'll still cover the cost. Because a lot of that money before was upkeep on the vehicle, so and that's under warranty now for the next 3 years.
So it won't make any increase in next year's budget, the proposed, or the preliminary budget. Any other discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Bryant?
Aye.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson Miles?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have I have a copy though.
Supervisors report. Attended the TCOG meeting, attended a college forum to recruit an intern to help with a 5-year budget. Met with Mike Carpenter to go over risk management assessment. Attended a working committee meeting on community choice aggregation. Met with our insurance agent, John Hewen, to review and update our property, vehicle, and liability coverage. Prepared the tentative 2017 budget. Met with the bookkeeper to double check the tentative budget. Prepared the preliminary 2017 budget. Closed out the state prevailing wage report on the painting of the town hall. Met with Mike Carpenter, Buddy Rollins, Highway Superintendent, and Brandon McGee regarding the 2017 budget. Prepared the 2017 final budget and researched the town's opt-out of solar farm tax election. Did I not send this to you digitally, Alice?
Mm-hmm.
What is the town's opt-out of solar farm tax election?
Oh, you'll learn more about that later in the session. Later in the evening. We'll start off committee reports with the Wind Energy Advisory Committee.
Okay. The Wind Farm Advisory Committee has been meeting over the last few months, working on revisions or recommended revisions to our wind law. I'm just going to read an email I sent to the town board this past weekend. In accordance with resolution number 2016-32, forming and appointing initial members of the Town of Enfield Wind Farm Advisory Committee. Included in that, the committee should review, recommend, and prioritize strategies as they relate to town policies and local laws for wind turbines. To this end, the Wind Farm Advisory Committee has been working on recommendations to update the Enfield wind law. The committee decided to not recommend wholesale changes to the existing law, but targeted changes that address several issues that have come up in the past year. These recommended changes are not meant to prohibit wind development, but instead create a better balance between property owners and any potential wind farm developers. These include a few changes and additions to the definition section, strengthens and clarifies the notification requirements, updates sound levels and noise measurement standards, and also increases setbacks to wind turbine substations and other infrastructure. There are also some other changes in there as well. We changed some of the language to reference 2016 or whatever the current year that the law would be adopted as. The changes can be found on the town's website as the recommended changes, and I think they're, if you look at the meeting minute report or the document section of the meeting minutes, I think there's a copy of the recommended, so I'd recommend that folks look at that. I'd like to thank the Wind Farm Advisory Committee and everyone on that for a lot of work. There was a lot of back and forth in terms of how far do we go to make the recommendations, and we decided that simpler is better. Some feel that there's a lot more work that needs to be done to really be thorough about it, but this is a good start and actually addresses some of the the key issues that have come up this year. As you can probably guess, not everyone was in full agreement of the setbacks that we had in there. Like, for example, the setbacks that we recommended to property lines were 4 times the total turbine height. Some felt that that should have been larger, and others were uncomfortable with that distance as well too. But that particular number was based on peer-reviewed research paper by Jonathan Rogers. There wasn't, some felt that the noise and infrasound should have increased that distance, but there wasn't a lot of scientific basis to do so. And I'm probably missing stuff. The folks that are on the committee, that I missed stuff.
Change the notice requirement.
Oh, yes. We changed, I think I said we changed the notification requirements. The current one was always problematic, that it was only 500 feet, and it wasn't clear in the law who should send that out. So part of the changes to the law was to change that to a 2-mile radius, and also require registered, and the notifications to be sent out by the town and by registered mail. There was some confusion as terms of like whether that some people complained that they didn't get notifications, even though I said I'm sure that went out, but there's no proof that people got those notifications. So by requiring that those notifications go out by registered mail, then there's a paper trail to prove that. So that's part of the notifications. I'll ask if there's any questions.
On the site, on the town website.
It's on the town website.
It shows the changes in a different color or a different style of.
I submitted the PDF version of it that incorporates all the changes, but there's a Word document if people want to see that outlines the details. I can.
Because I would have to do a line by line comparison.
Don't do that. We'll send. I'll send along a.
Can you post that one on the website too? Yeah, because I went in to look and.
Yeah, it would be nice. Yes.
To be able to.
We can post that.
We just.
Yeah, that's the one that we kind of reviewed, so we understood what those changes were.
Were there, I didn't go through it line by line. Isn't there a difference in the noise requirements?
Yes, the current noise level for the current law is 60 dBA above ambient, which most people, I think most of us consider that was a mistake in the law. That there's really no scenario where that's, unless something's terribly wrong with the wind turbine, that it's ever going to reach that level. So the noise requirements, if you look on, I think it was Article 3, Section 17, that we changed a lot of that section, and that also included clarifying the noise requirements, and we differentiated between daytime and nighttime sound levels. And again, these are recommendations that it's really up to the town board to decide what to do with those recommendations, and to change them, go forward with them, modify them. Also, in regards to the noise, we added an Appendix A, which I think we mainly copied from the town of Freedom, in terms of standards for measuring the noise. So the sound is
SEDUM? Town of Sedum?
Town of Freedom.
Freedom.
In Maine.
so noise level requirements. And it was always understood from the beginning that this law or the recommendations would not be retroactive to the current project. So the committee was well aware of that.
Well, thank you for a lot of hard work.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
I probably won't get a chance to actually vote on it or take it much further than that, but I hope that the town board really takes it up and talks about that.
Planning Board, Dan Walker.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We had no actions this month. The planning board, we are short a member, I believe. And we also have two, just forgot what we call them. Alternate members, thank you. Positions open, I understand that there's been a request for interested applicants to submit forms, and I know we've had at least one applicant
You have.
that has submitted a letter. And what's the deadline date for that? Was it
Was it 20th?
November 20th?
didn't
And
look that up.
I'd ask any, else if you could send me copies of any resumes that come in or application letters that come in, then we'll review them at our planning board meeting, first meeting in December. And then we'll make a recommendation to the town board. So when you connect, I assume it would probably be.
The organizational meeting?
You'd probably be the organization meeting in January, but that would give us some opportunity to discuss applicants, I guess. We discussed the solar projects law and how it could be incorporated into our site plan review law. And by adding a couple of extra definitions and some additional special considerations that are related specifically to solar panels, we feel we can adequately protect the town by incorporating that into the existing, or we'll be revising the site plan review law, because most of the elements of review that are written up in the draft solar law are things that we already would do as part of the site plan review by the planning board. So we'll have a draft of that that I'm going to review with the planning board in the December meeting, and then we can look at changing that in next year probably. I know the board's been pretty occupied with things, unless you want to move ahead faster than that. But go ahead. Questions?
So, the site plan review is a law.
Site plan review, yeah, so
So
we would
this
be
is
modifying
going-
the site plan review law
Right,
to
but-
incorporate specific language covering solar panels in the town for, there's two levels. There's minor projects, which basically are the ones that just need a building permit that Alan has seen, under, I think we're looking at 2,000 watts, 2 kilowatts as a, or is it 10 kilowatts, Alan?
I've got it here.
20 kilowatts, 20 kilowatts, yeah, I knew it was a 2. Okay, 20 kilowatts would be a minor system, and that's pretty much what's been, the extent of what's been going up, and then over 20 kilowatts would be a major system that would require a full review by the planning board.
By the planning board.
And including the seeker evaluations. And we're already doing that because most of the major projects impact more than an acre of land, and that is covered. Any project that incorporates more than an acre of land, disturbance or modifications, requires a full site plan review. So we've already reviewed 3 solar farms,
Right.
and they were all in excess of 20 kilowatts. but none of those went up to the 2 megawatt, which is pretty typical for the maximum interconnection that NICEAG will allow. And we're anticipating that we'll be seeing some more coming into the town.
Dan, do you feel like, having not already made those changes in the site plan review law, that the solar farms that you have approved under it,
Under the existing law.
under the existing that you're talking about, do you feel like there's any impact, any negative impact of those that couldn't be dealt with in the site plan review law in terms of the changes that you want to make for it into the future? Would have been good to have those changes already in place?
I don't think we had no real concerns because all the environmental issues, the visual impact, the stormwater management and all those other things, we reviewed all that.
Right.
So basically, the planning board's feeling was that since we have this list of criteria that we're using to review major projects, there's no sense in repeating all that in another law because we're doing most of these things.
Right, I agree. I'm just wondering for the future for this Delaware River Solar project. I'm wondering if you feel like there's a possibility that we should try and hold off on the approval or the application for that with the idea that we could get the new site plan review law in place with those extra provisions in there, or does it not matter?
We've had some contact that they are interested in projects. We've had no formal applications yet, and I do not anticipate that there would be any problem that we couldn't handle under the site plan review law because we have pretty good reach over anything of that size.
Okay. Good,
Is the
thanks.
decommissioning?
Okay, that's a question for the board. The planning board basically felt there wasn't a real need for decommissioning plans because we don't require decommissioning for any other large facilities in the town, such as barns or farms. And if they go out of business and just sit there, the planning board's most of the members of the planning board's feelings were that why should we regulate that if we don't regulate it for every other structure in the town?
Every other business.
Well, every other large structure in the town, every other large
Calvin
business.
could say that our decommissioning plan for a dairy farm would be the grave out back where you bury the cows.
Well, it's usually, they disintegrate pretty fast with the animals in town, so we don't have to worry about that. Yeah, I know decommissioning seems to be a big concern for people. My experience has been that most solar projects are not going to evaporate. Now, the experience on those has been in the last 5 years, really, for really major stuff. I have my personal feelings as a design professional and site plan professional that I have done a number of site plan sightings as the engineer working for the developer, not in this town, but in other towns, that the potential for abandonment of a solar project if it's financially sufficient to start is decommissioning is not a real big issue because there is a lot of value to the materials that go into these, and it's basically every one of these projects is the responsibility, it goes back to the homeowner or the property owner, unless I've not seen one where the developer actually owns the property outright. It's usually a lease.
Right.
And very often the best protection for that is that the landowner has the protection of if it goes defunct, they either own it or they have a clause in their contract that it's removed. So, I mean, we can put decommissioning in, but I don't really see it as a major problem. And now I'm speaking, I've been working for developers that do that, but I've seen the value of the structures that go in and the value of the materials are always there. I mean, after 30 years, maybe they will disintegrate. You've got a solar project on a smaller project on your property.
They don't disintegrate.
Hmm?
They don't disintegrate.
They don't disintegrate.
No.
No, but they'll continue to generate power. There'll be some value to them.
they haven't been around long enough really to
To test that, right.
Yeah, although you can't imagine that 50 years from now, we could be driving around and having fields full of solar panels and
Right.
nobody wants to bother with them, but presumably at that time, then that aluminum and everything else will be more valuable to recycle too. So.
The aluminum and the steel structures that support them and so on.
Yeah. So.
But that's something the board, if you want to include provisions for decommissioning, that's fine. I don't personally see a need for that going into the law, but that's someone who's worked on both sides of the fence, I guess. Normally, any regulation you put in is meant there to protect the environment in the town and the property owners also, adjoining property owners, so.
So you're probably going to get this together by the January meeting?
Yeah, I'm trying to get it in front of the planning board we've talked about it enough. I've got the elements that I need to incorporate into that draft, into the draft revision for the site plan law, right?
But, I mean, I'll check with Guy, but you just institute a new law, whole new law, you don't amend it.
You would pass a new law to amend the site plan review. Right. Basically what you do is you create the new version of the site plan review law, and as part of the passing of the new law, you rescind the old law and create the new law. And the guy knows how to do that in a more complicated way than I would.
Oh, we'll trust him to that. We'll trust him.
He'll give you all the right language to do it, but yeah.
How many kilowatts were the systems up on 79? The one
79, I think
by
they're
Food-
300 and 400 kilowatts.
Those are pretty decent sized systems. You're thinking under 20 kilowatts would be a residential?
Under 20
size.
kilowatts is pretty much a residential system, right? And 20 kilowatts today is a smaller array than it was 5 years ago because the production capabilities of the panels is.
Oh, you
has
mean
improved.
physically smaller?
Physically smaller, right? You can generate 50 watts out of a panel pretty fast.
The efficiency's gotten better.
Efficiency's gotten better, right? And
Okay, so, we need to, make some effort to, get some people to volunteer for the site plan committee. Right?
planning board.
Planning board.
Planning board, yes. And I believe, we've advertised it. If anybody is interested, we're always welcome. We appreciate it if people that are interested, you're very welcome to come to planning board meetings. They aren't always real exciting, but it's good to know that the public is interested in the process.
Do you have one from Rob Tesori at this point?
Excuse me?
Do you have an application from Rob Tesori at this point?
I believe that's the application that we have, yeah. He was at the planning board meeting the last 2 times, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are you?
I'm done, unless you have other questions.
Facilities manager? Oh, Rec Partnership isn't here, the Enfield Community Council isn't here, the Enfield Volunteer Fire Company is in the southern draws.
I have a report from them.
Oh, you have a written report, okay, we'll listen to the Volunteer Fire Company report.
Total calls for October are 27, 1 mutual aid to Ithaca, 18 EMS calls, 3 MVA, 5 service calls. November 10th, there's a work detail scheduled. November 17th, cold weather training. And there's a blood drive November 15th from 1:30 to 6:30 p.m.
Thank you. Facilities manager.
I talked to Roger Loper about his concerns about the highway department building. talked to Buddy about his concerns about the highway department building. We decided as a preliminary measure, we would try and deal with the safety issues that are involved with wet outlets on the wall. Buddy's gonna get in touch with Schisler Electric and ask them to either install GFCI outlets or perhaps GFCI breakers in the panel boxes to cover those outlets so that at least there's significantly less danger involved with the highway people using the outlets that are in place already. He also was going to call HSC heating people as well as ENR heating people and try and get some estimates on what it will take to fix the natural gas heaters that are in the ceiling of the highway building. And that's as far as we went on that one.
Okay. Tompkins County Council of Governments, we talked about new officers for the coming year. This community choice aggregate is being talked about a lot in other townships, and that was about it for this past meeting. We're now on to old business, and I believe in your stack of papers you have the very rudimentary start of a letter to Black Oak outlining the steps going forward that we're going to require of them. The heading at the top says a draft letter to Black Oak Wind, well, it should be Farm, on steps going forward. Now, I took this
Motion.
text from the motion last month. I did change the grammar a touch, but basically this is where it came from. I did separate out the department, the DEC, to make it perfectly clear. The town has no control authority over several of these plans. However, from the motion and from the lawyer's list, I was unclear. I'm very clear on the SPDES and the SWIP permits, but then did they approve the SPCC plan, the dust control plan also? Have you got Frank's list?
I don't have it.
I'm looking for it too. You gave us all copies last time.
Yes. You all got a copy last month.
Yes. There he listed, I don't know, about 10 or so different documents.
Well, he
And we
puts all
determine-
these I've got his original.
Oh, you got the original?
Yeah. He puts them all in the same line with DEC. SPCC plan, dust control plan, and soil erosion and sedimentary control plan.
Yeah.
So if you don't have other competing information,
Do you have any sense of that, Dan?
I'm going with the way.
As far as, well,
Frank
the
did.
stormwater pollution prevention plan does have a component in it that addresses all kinds of erosion, including the wind erosion, which would be dust control.
Dust control, soil and erosion, and sediment control.
Projects of this magnitude, if it's over an acre of disturbed ground, requires a stormwater pollution prevention plan. There is a general permit for construction activities that DEC has produced, that this construction projects, that this activity would be covered under the general permit. So they have to prepare this stormwater pollution prevention plan, and including all the construction details, grading plans, post and during construction activities, and then any post-construction measures that have to be met to control stormwater after completion of the project, which would basically be dealing with impervious surfaces, and so you don't increase runoff from the project from the original conditions. And that's all basically covered under the general permit, and that's the DEC.
That DEC
DEC permit,
issues.
right.
I think that makes sense. Yeah, it would all fit into that
The
plan.
town does have a responsibility to have a stormwater management officer, which I believe is the code enforcement officer in the town, given, Alan's probably shooting daggers at me right now, but,
Well,
and
it can be or it cannot be, right?
it can, I mean, generally, in the town, we do not have, we're not included in in an MS4, which is a municipal separate storm sewer system, like the town of Ithaca, parts of our town of Lansing. The bigger towns that have urbanized areas are included because they have, and then they would have a stormwater management officer that actually has to review and approve the project before it gets submitted to, for the general permit to DEC. In our town, because we do not have the MS4, the applicant submits it directly to DEC for approval.
Right, it seemed like if you're gonna have a site inspection type person, that they would have to have some training at least, in what they're looking at.
Yes, there's requirements that the contractors have to have trained people. The
Right.
SWIP has to be prepared by a licensed engineer.
Right.
Professional engineer in New York. Labella has a contract, we've got a contract to do environmental monitoring that would cover the town's portion of the on-site inspection.
Right.
Because we have the
Okay, yeah.
ability and knowledge to do that.
That makes sense, yeah.
The code enforcement officer would issue building permits.
Right. After the board issues the.
Right, after the,
Or when and
after we
if
get
the
all the final construction documents.
board passes the wind
Right.
energy permit.
So the SPDES and the the PVP and all those other things, those would be as part of the building
Can I
permit.
just see what it says?
It'd be part of the SWIP plan.
So it's
That's
okay.
that last paragraph.
The Speedies permit is the one that's, the general permit for stormwater is the Speedies permit, yes.
Okay.
And then,
So
right.
is that a duplicate, Speedies and SWIP?
Well, SWIP is the plan.
SWIP is the plan, and then actually the permit is a Speedies permit for construction activities.
So it's a Speedies, it's a SWIP plan and a Speedies permit.
Right. The general permit for stormwater and discharges. The Speedies, it deals with discharges during construction of sites, or if there is an impact due to the construction based on impervious surfaces or other pollutants that are generated, that gets covered, but the stormwater pollution prevention plan addresses all those.
So for the purposes of the wind energy permit, we should be asking for the plan, but not the permit, because that would be.
Well, you want to see the permit, and that before they start construction, they have to have coverage under that general permit, yes.
Right, but that's not necessarily a requirement of the wind energy permit, but we'd probably want to see the plan.
No, before they start construction, they have to notify DEC at least 10 days before construction, file a notice of intent to be covered under the permit. And then it may require, if they meet all the requirements and DEC doesn't ask for a more specific review, then they get the permit after 10 days if they have a complete SWIP. And the application's on a 20-page document that's online that they have to complete.
And this would be during the permitting phase.
This would be, the construction phase.
Yeah, the construction phase.
And a building permit would not be issued until they have met those, construction cannot start until they have that coverage in place. And that's not, that's for any major project that disturbs more than an acre of ground.
Okay, so there's a little bit of changing in the sentence regarding DEC.
You're missing the pilot agreement and the FAA lighting.
Lighting's in here.
There's a lighting plan.
I mean, there may be other, if they're disturbing wetlands, then they need a state permit and a Corps of Engineers permit for any wetland disturbance also.
But they wouldn't realistically be doing that till after we've approved the wind farm. It wouldn't be something we should be requiring up front from before we issue the wind energy permit.
Before they get a building permit, they have to have all that in place, yes.
Right.
Not the wind energy.
But not the wind energy permit. The wind energy permit is where the town approves the wind farm itself as.
If you approve the wind farm with conditions, yes.
This behalf.
And the conditions are the final construction documents and those other items.
Okay.
Right. So, back to this draft letter, is there any other, grammar? Concerns?
I think when I did that resolution, I took that information directly from Harris Beach, Frank Pavia, Harris Beach language, what they're asking for. Formatting wise, would it be easier just to read through this with bulleted items so we know?
You read my mind.
Yeah.
You want to put it in a bullet form?
Yeah, because just to make it clear for everyone that it's one big run-on paragraph.
Yes, it is.
Is the pilot agreement part of this?
We have the pilot agreement.
Okay, we have that.
It's been approved. I can probably tell you which year.
I know what you
Okay. Okay, any other comments, additions?
I would probably want to consider the idea that a number of people have brought up that there may well be an issue with the placement of some of the turbines. On the original plan, since the turbine size changed, since they were going to be taller, I don't know that I could say for sure that I know exactly all the details in fact, I can't say for sure that I know the details about how that impact relates to the distance from neighboring properties. My understanding, from talking to different people from the town, is that at least Donnie Gunny's property has to be thought about, because the change in the turbine size has made it so that the property line next door on Rob DeSore's property is probably too close according to the wind law at this point. So I guess I would want to get a letter or have somebody do the history, or both. The letter being from Don Gunny saying that the location of the turbine is where it's going to be originally. And then we would have to have a letter from Black Oak saying that that original turbine location is in keeping with the original plan that they submitted, the original environmental impact statement they submitted, and that it also is in keeping with the town wind law setbacks that we looked for in our original town law.
You send me that in text, please.
I can do that.
Well, we're gonna wanna know the locations of all the turbines and how far they are from property lines, I would think. But that one in particular,
I
know.
believe that the original plan is available in the clerk's office. The board has passed some resolutions about accepting that.
Do those plans include longitude and latitude, exact locations?
I haven't looked at them in 9 months, so
I had to pay to get a special plan done to figure out where they were.
I've seen maps and I've seen dots and circles. I'm not sure if I've seen exact longitude and latitude and exactly knowing where each of those.
You think it
facilities-
needs to include longitude and latitude?
Well, yeah, it's specific. They probably already have that.
You've looked at the red binder thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the map is nice.
Yeah,
I mean,
but it
you get the
doesn't-
general sense on where things are, but you
I'm
don't
not questioning
know
the same,
exactly.
we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
I looked at that too.
Yeah,
There
and-
are longitude and latitudes in there.
And that will help determine whether, how close they are to property lines and other setback requirements.
Is that gonna give you it close enough to exact footages then?
Well,
Do
should,
that?
yeah, well, yeah.
I'm not a GPS expert, so I'm not.
I had a
Well-
GPS report done, it's in my comments to this supplemental.
As long as you have a good precision on the longitude and latitude.
I mean, the GPS, you can also get GPS coordinates for property lines apparently.
Yeah.
The county GIS does have the latitude and longitude, plus or minus.
Plus or minus what?
Actually, the
They're
FAA
not perfect.
Yeah, the FAA site has it.
Because they got all that government money they can use.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of my old surveys and deeds, and they say so many feet from a center line of a road or a pipe or.
Or rods and meters in the old ones.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
A pipe.
if we wanna know how far a turbine is from the property line, so we can get the GPS coordinates of the turbine, wonder how we get them for the property line at closest point to the turbine.
Should we be asking for that specific information so we can also confirm the exact GPS coordinates of the turbines and distance to property lines?
The nearest point, to the property line, yeah.
You want the longitude and latitude of the turbine, of each turbine,
and substation. There's also.
Is there a setback requirement for substations? In the law?
No, I don't think so, no. Actually, I think for most of the structure, I don't think there was.
But you want to know how big the substation is, because it's only an acre in that plan, and I think it has to be a lot bigger than that.
It's brought in on 2 trucks. The substation.
Yeah. Well, the letter from Rich Teeter would help.
Well, isn't that in this draft?
Yes, it is.
That was submitted to Black Oak's lawyer.
And you want the coordinates of property lines? Of all involved property lines?
Well, at least dimensions, distance from the turbine's locations. I don't think you can get a single coordinate of a property line because it's a linear.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should at least get distances
That's
from.
what I'd think.
From property lines.
Okay. So I'll put this in bullet form, in a letter form, and I'll send it out to everyone, including Guy, prior to me sending it. Now, you got anything else that you want in this letter?
FAA lighting.
We have a lighting plan.
A what?
A lighting plan. It's in the letter.
It's in here.
Oh, sorry.
I already
missed
said
it.
that.
I missed it, sorry.
Yeah, that's why a bullet form would.
That's what bullet form is for.
That's in bold form?
Bullet form is
bullet
for
form.
Oh,
It'd be
well.
easy- so it'd be easy to read.
You can look at it 4 or 5 times.
No.
And you want to restate the decommissioning funds deal in this letter.
That's what Frank had on the list.
Yes.
And I think I just read it exactly as he stated it. Well, I changed the number because he had 125 and we
Oh,
had
good.
changed that.
Good that you changed
and
the
we had
number.
changed that to 180 earlier in the year or past summer.
All right. Okay, I will send this.
But other than that, it was verbatim.
I will put this into bullet form and letter form, send it around for approval prior to sending it.
Will we be doing at a special meeting or the next regular board meeting?
You want it formally approved in a motion.
Yeah. Well,
This is have to go to Frank, right? Just got it.
Just got it. Okay, now, also at the last meeting, according to the minutes, we were going to work on community relations and dispute resolution plan. I believe Mike has suggested that we start with the community dispute resolution that was done by Frank Pavia. You don't want to start.
Really?
You don't want to start with the Black Oak Wind Farm
No,
procedure?
I wanted to start with the one that you sent out after the last meeting. Whose is that?
Well, let me see the copy you're looking at.
That's, I asked you for the current copy of Black Oak's plan, and that's what you sent me.
I apologize.
Not the right one.
I apologize.
Okay, that's fine.
The current Black Oak Wind Farm has been provided to you at a couple of meetings ago. Looks like this.
And I probably have that one.
I'm
Let me
really
make sure
sure you
that
do.
this is the one that I,
Okay, that's different from this one.
well, there's no date on this. I don't think it's a lot different, no. 1, 2, 3, 4,
This is
5.
from 9, 10.
I think this is probably it, though. Let me look at the complaint resolution
And go fish.
procedure here for. Well, that being the case, this isn't probably detailed enough or complete enough to include a number of the things that I would have assumed we would want included in there, as it was the one that Frank Pavia, which I wish he had signed it. Oh, well, it was a Frank
Yeah,
Pavia.
why would,
What's that? Why would he?
Yeah.
Why would you not want to know who wrote something, and why would you want to know when they wrote it?
We talked about dates and.
I mean, that seems just the most logical thing in the world. Anyways, let me downgrade then from there. I would actually like to read this letter, if that's okay, with you,
oh,
that I wrote in relation to this
Oh.
issue.
certainly.
It's a little bit different, and I'll have to revise a little bit in relation to realizing that I was looking at the wrong plan. But I started out saying, after having read the plan that Ann sent about 2 weeks ago, which was Frank Pavia's, which was from June, I feel that we can probably work from it at the meeting. I did find it flawed, but even with the flaws, it was a good starting point. This plan from the actual wind farm folks that we got, 9/10, I think you said it was. Well, this is yours, I'll
September
give
10th.
it back.
You can write date on it.
That's actually got a date on it.
Well, I'll put a date on it, 9/10. Actually is not anywhere near as complete in my mind as the one from Frank, and even obviously the one from Frank I wasn't happy with, but I would say that if we were going to work on a community resolution plan, we probably would have to start from this one from the wind farm. And for me, I'll go into the rest of my letter. There's another reason I did not want to write my plan to be discussed. In thinking about what to say, I went back over many of the submittals from Black Oak, the pronouncements from the representatives in both board and committee meetings, and the thoughts I have had in relation to them. I watched Black Oak go from "there is no reason to do this," in quotes, to "we will not do this," in quotes, to "that's a deal breaker," in quotes, to "yes, we will make it look like we're doing this without actually doing it," in quotes, to "we will do this, but only to the extent that it does not have any negative effects on our bottom line," in quotes. Those aren't really quotes that I remember exactly people saying, but it's the gist of what the information was communicated to me. That seems to be where we are right now, all in order to get 3 votes of yes from us. You might think I would feel good about how hard they are trying to be a good neighbor, in quotes. I feel just the opposite, however. From the Orwellian nightmare that is the good neighbor agreement, in quotes, which was touted as not being a legal document and an opportunity for everyone to share in the profits with no strings attached, to the minimal grudgingly made concessions on the dispute resolution process, I feel that being a good neighbor, in quotes, is very far from what they intend. I would instead expect them to stall whenever possible, minimize the problems that come up, and avoid actually dealing with the issues. Then if forced to, they will use the processes they have developed to make as few concessions as possible, not take any significant action, and finally force the matter to be taken to court, where they will likely win, as nothing they ever submitted said anything more than that they would make reasonable, in quotes, efforts to solve the problems. The added advantage to Black Oak in this process is that board members will be worn down by the process over time, and that, along with concerns about not keeping up with the unclear legal steps required, will make us just want to get it over with. Not a new idea, of course, and it often does work. If this is true of how the local owners of Black Oak will deal with problems, how much more likely is it to be true of a large multinational corporation from Germany or elsewhere? At this point, I see a project that was conceived out of ignorance of the evidence we have today in relation to wind farm problems. It was designed and developed from that same position, and whatever feedback was obtained in the past from the Nebar residents seems to have come from that position of ignorance as well. The permitting process over the last 8 years or so also seems particularly defined by a lack of accurate communication on Black Oak's part and a willingness on the part of the Enfield Town Board members, past and present, to let the wind farm people direct the process and define the rules with little outside input. I include myself in that last group. At this point, I believe there are many local residents who likely know much more than any of us on the board do about this issue. At the same time, we have been showered with what I consider uninformed feedback by individuals and organizations supporting a project that they seem not to understand well at all. Many years back, I had conversations with many people, John Rancich included, about what a great project this would be for the earth and for the local populace. I didn't know enough back then to realize what a problem, health-threatening and perhaps even life-threatening, it would be for people living close by. I do not know at what level that threat is, but to me, it has gone beyond being acceptable. I know the main argument for this project is that we need renewable energy to help save our planet. We do, but we need to do it right. To permit this project as it currently stands is not right. To perpetuate the idea that it is okay to do something that will significantly affect the health, physical, mental, and emotional, and safety of a significant number of Enfield families in order to accomplish a greater good is not right. Despite what many authors and orators of the past have stated, the end does not justify the means. I firmly believe this, and I'm trying to do my job here in accordance with it. Every time we take the path that looks at only the goal and not how we get there, we lose a small spark of our humanity. I am unwilling to accept that loss. In consequence, I find it necessary for me to act against the approval of this project in the future. If, as a board, we decide to not issue a permit to the wind farm, I fully expect we have to justify that decision to a court of law. I believe we have a case to present, but we still may lose. In any case, however, we're likely to spend proceeds from the town's property taxes in defending our position. I'm very troubled about that, but find that for myself, voting against the permit for Black Oak Wind Farm as it is currently configured is the only action I can take. So that's really why I don't feel I want to write this community relations procedure, complaint resolution procedure myself, because I don't really feel like I can fairly develop a process or a procedure that will include something that Black Oak can do to make it possible to do the project. At this point, I don't feel like I can support the project at all. That's what I think.
What I'm curious about is why there hasn't been more thought about the community relations dispute resolution process as the primary mechanism to address absolute individual differences
Individual differences between,
in how people react to this. And why this shouldn't get a lot of attention on being an answer to the concerns that residents have.
you know, I wondered about that too over the last year or more, because I've talked to people at Black Oak. We've talked in meetings about it. I've made a point of saying that this dispute resolution procedure, Appendix U, in the environmental impact statement is almost, you know, it doesn't really say anything at all, hardly. The only responses I've gotten from Black Oak was the methodologies that I would like to put into a complaint resolution procedure are not gonna work for them, and they just don't wanna consider them at all. And I've talked to different people that are involved with the administration of Black Oak. That's been the response I've gotten from them. Just finally in the last month or so, there's been some communication that said, well, maybe we consider it. This last complaint resolution procedure, that when they did consider it, what I saw, and again, I'm just doing it from memory now, but what I saw is their willingness to have something to do with what I call the buyout option, which is that people who really need to move will be bought out. Basically didn't really offer much of a buyout option at all. It just said basically, if we can figure out some way to get some money from somewhere, not us, that will help to cover the costs of some people's buyouts, however many there might be, then we're willing to go along with it, as long as there's money in the thing that came from somewhere, from somebody else than us. We can use that money to buy people out. That is like smoke and mirrors to me. That's just not anything at all. It's saying that money's gonna come out of the air and buy these people out that they need to be bought out. So I haven't seen anything substantive at all in response from Black Oak about it, and I guess I don't really know what we would have discussed, because they didn't want to talk about it. You know, they just basically said, that's not on the table. So I don't know where we should have gone from there.
I don't understand, I still don't understand why the board hasn't put much more effort into this.
Well, I tried. I don't know I don't know about Michael and Henry and Virginia. I don't know what they thought. I mean, I don't think it's been, I don't think I remember seeing it on the agenda very often, other than say, let's get an approval on it. But that's, as soon as it got on the agenda to say, let's approve it, that's when I start saying, whoops, nope, we can't approve it like it is. We gotta get a new one. But we never got very far with it. And I think maybe.
No, we've never.
Maybe
no,
one reason
we
is
never
that
have.
we spend all of our time
And now
with
to-
all these other plans.
And now tonight, your statement indicates that you're not willing to work on it now.
I am
And that's
willing.
troubling.
I am willing to work with the board on submitted complaint resolution plans from Black Oak. And if I feel that there is a real, true commitment to what I'm gonna call the quote-unquote good neighbor policy, to being good neighbors to these people, I'm ready to jump back in. But at this point, it's not even close. I don't see anything at all that they've done that really address the issue. And I don't think it's gonna happen at all. I'm always willing to forgive and forget if somebody says, I'm willing to turn a new page, turn a new leaf. But I don't have a whole lot of hope that that's gonna happen at this point. If it did, I'm ready to jump in.
Michael,
Can
do
I-
you
can
see
I-
this?
Well, let me
How do
just-
you see this?
Well, let me just point this out. At last meeting, we developed a resolution to ask Black Oak for the documents, which also include this document. And just right here, we have two different versions of this. And it may be exactly the same text. I don't know.
That one says draft, this one doesn't.
This one's dated, that one isn't.
Yeah.
I think it would be helpful for us. They may be exactly the same. I don't know without, you know.
Right, without reading them, yeah.
Reading them, comparing them word for word. But we've also asked Black Oak for these documents per our, you know, legal counsel that asked for these, that said we should be asking for these documents.
Right.
I think having some kind of dated documents that we're all working from the same thing, and we know that's the version of the document that we should be working from and working through. And we can talk about this, but I see it's kind of pointless at this point till we've.
Why? Why is it pointless?
Because we're
It
asking.
just kicks the can down the road.
But that's what we're doing with this letter, not intentionally, but we're asking Black Oak per our legal counsel for these documents.
But you've already received many of them.
Yes, we have.
But apparently you don't like them.
Too many.
It's not that I'm, there are concerns, but I don't know
Well-
which version of them we're talking about.
Can I say something? I mean, I hear, I listen to people who live in the neighborhood. I mean, the thing is pardon me, a mess from the get-go. We have documents floating here and there, undated, from Black Oak. We've now got the letter that you drafted, which does pretty much bullet what we want to see. But I'm hearing from a board member that basically he's not interested, I won't say not interested, I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but basically given Black Oak's stance to date, he's not interested in pursuing the project or having it approved. And certainly we have, 86 homeowners that are very concerned, and Black Oak is not, to my mind, stepping up to the plate in any way, shape, or form. And this is the beginning of this whole thing. I'm not.
So, it's what I'm hearing is, they've submitted a plan, it's not adequate, that's all I'm gonna do. I'm not going to express what I see as important. It's just no. That's what I'm hearing.
I'm willing to work through a document, but a document that I know that we're all on the same page. This is the document that Black Oak wants us to work through.
That's what I was waiting on, is
And that's what the
most
point is.
But you have gotten them 2 months ago.
Then why did we ask for?
Before you guys spend a lot of time on this, I just want to say that there's clearly been a misunderstanding, because Marguerite and I were very much under the impression that Mike had agreed to draft a community resolution plan.
Definitely, yes.
And that Marguerite said, that's great, we'll wait to see that. So Mike, I guess, just acknowledged that he did agree to do that, and we were under the impression that that he would be bringing a draft to this meeting. He hasn't, and so I don't know why there's any more discussion about it. You should just drop it and move on.
You don't need to.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Well.
And we had sent the community buyout, or the property buyout draft, and Marguerite stood here and said at the meeting, this is the ball's in your court. If you don't like this, is just something for you, just suggestion for you guys to play with and send it back to us. And that was said when that was submitted to you guys.
When was that?
Well,
Whenever we
August.
submitted it to, I don't know the exact
Whatever.
date.
That's one of the biggest problems.
No, but the problem, Mike, the problem is you agreed to draft a plan by this meeting. You acknowledged that to Marguerite, and you never said differently. If you'd gotten back to us after the meeting and said, hey, you know what, I don't want to do this, then we would have gone ahead and prepared something ourselves.
Do you understand why I didn't?
I don't understand why you didn't tell us.
Well,
You agreed, Mike, you've done this before. You voted for this statement, you voted for the environmental impact statement, and then you changed your mind. Now you agreed to develop a draft of this plan. We took you at your word, and you didn't do it. That's fine. I just want an acknowledgement that you did say you would do it, and you didn't say until tonight that you wouldn't do it.
I already acknowledged that I did say I would do it. You just asked me why I didn't tell you. The reason why I didn't tell you is because I didn't make a final determination on my relationship. I've been thinking about this thing for 2 weeks and trying to figure out. I've read all the old plans, I've read lots of back information, and I found that with my conscience, I couldn't let myself go ahead and start developing a plan for you.
All you had to do is tell us.
Are you gonna let me talk or not?
No, I'm saying.
You didn't let me finish talking,
You
though,
gave
Peter.
us your
You didn't
word.
let me finish talking,
Mike,
Peter.
you gave us your
You didn't
word.
let me finish talking, Peter.
You gave us your word.
You didn't let me finish talking, Peter.
Go ahead, but it doesn't matter because you didn't give us, you didn't keep your word, Mike, so why should anybody say that?
Fuck liars.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
That's
You think I'm lying? He didn't, he just said that he agreed to do it.
Thank you, Peter.
Marguerite said she.
I
her whole
see-
neighbor agreement, she didn't
Order.
That was her word.
I see this as the mechanism where we could, the board could address residents' concerns. And I am really troubled that this board has not dug into this.
Let me ask you a question. Is this the community dispute resolution plan that Black Oak submitted? This is the one you just gave me.
Yes.
Okay, there is nothing in there about what this lady just said was submitted by Marguerite about the bioplan. There's no bioplan in there.
That
So,
was submitted separately.
why when you tell me that this is, are you gonna listen to, or are you gonna interrupt me as well?
No, I'm
You
not
are
gonna-
interrupting me, Ann.
Yes,
I was
and I
just
am
talking and you're
now.
interrupting me.
And I
Do you wanna
am.
have a conversation, or do you wanna just get to be the one that talks first and whenever you want to? Which?
And that's not you.
Which? Which do you want to do? You want to have a conversation, or you just want to be the boss and say it like it is? You could join Peter, you could just sit up here with Peter, and the two of you could just talk for the whole meeting. That would be great.
Let's hear that.
This is,
Go ahead.
How about we try
I
to find
see
a-
this as troubling.
It's very troubling, because this is not the community dispute resolution plan that Black Oak submitted. It's not the latest one they submitted. This lady over here just told you that. Didn't you hear her? You just gave it to me and said it was.
I
It
didn't
isn't.
say that, I didn't say that.
You told me it was part of the plan.
I didn't
She
say
said it was
part of the
submitted
plan.
separate.
What did you say
I
then?
said that.
Let's hear it.
I said that Marguerite submitted, something about, for the buyout, and I don't know if that was a separate document, or if that was part of that, but she submitted something in response to people asking for
So
a
you're telling me
buyout.
it isn't part of the dispute resolution plan?
I said, I don't,
You don't know. I know because Marguerite told me it was, because I had a phone call with her about it.
then, I'm just saying that you guys, she sent, so you had something, she asked for it to come back, so where that is?
It was part of the plan, according to Marguerite. That's what she told me. And didn't think that that's part of the plan. She may not even know where it is. So how can her
Let me
faulty
through
record
my
keeping
folder.
and the fact that she doesn't even know what's the plan
Folder.
indicate that we're avoiding talking about this when she doesn't even know what we should be talking
I'm
about?
not gonna speak to Ann, but
Well,
I don't
Mike,
wanna be also blamed.
you
Black Oak
got,
because you guys aren't dating
you got an
documents that
email
you just get received.
on September 24th with that exact thing.
I read it, Ann. I did.
I thought you said you had never seen it.
No, I didn't say I hadn't seen that. I said I hadn't seen this one that you sent me that was from June 16th, that was from Frank Pavia, that you didn't say was Frank Pavia, and you didn't say when it was from. And I said to you in the email I sent back, how can you be sending us something from June 16th and saying it's the most current plan from Black Oak Wind Farm? That makes no sense at all, and yet that's what you told me in the email that you sent me this week.
We have a draft letter that's asking for this plan. I don't care which document is in front of us, but we have to know the exact document that we're reviewing. I don't care whether it's the June one, or the August one, the September one, or the one that was a letter, but we need something that we're all on the same page, the same document, and this letter is asking for that.
That's fine. I just get peed off when somebody tells me I'm avoiding something, not doing my job. I'm doing my job, I promise you.
But this But we have a path to figure this out. Whatever the plan is, and this is one of the reasons why we need this letter, is so we get the final plan.
So
Or get
you want
plan
a
from Black Oak.
plan dated after the receipt of this letter?
we're asking for.
This one won't do.
That's not complete.
I don't know which one this one is. Is it the same one as this one? How do I know?
Well, look at it. I mean, it's only a couple of pages.
Well, yeah, but they're different.
And I really think it would be better just to drop this.
Why does it have anything to do with you, Peter? You're not part of this.
On the assumption that you were going to bring a draft to the meeting. You didn't bring a draft to the meeting, so why talk about it?
Peter, this is not your business.
Well, it is Black Oat's business.
It isn't his business, this is the town board business.
I just want to make sure that his letter will be included with the official minutes so that we get a copy of it.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Duly noted.
Mike, could you send me a copy?
I want a copy too, it's great.
Do you want it anyway?
If you could email it to me.
Yes.
Excuse me, there's a date on it. I'm like,
Needs to be published.
Just read the letter of statement. Was that emailed to all of us?
But it wasn't.
Yes, that was earlier today.
I didn't get it yet. But that doesn't say anything to Cypress. I've been trying to get it here. Try again.
I assume that there will be the same problem with the road use agreement, that you don't have a good enough copy and it's not current enough and many other things I've heard before. Is that true?
I am following our own lawyer's advice on this, that Frank Pavia laid out the documents that we need to collect from Black Oak. And this letter is a result of that conversation we had with our lawyer.
So Black Oak has to produce the road use agreement?
We voted to request that they provide the town board with these final documents, bulleted.
Yes, yes. These are the things that Frank noted that we need to have before we issue a wind energy permit. And so we
they have to submit it.
Yes, yeah, that's what we're asking.
Read the resolution back.
At least it would avoid, like, which document is it? We don't know which
That's what I was
document.
waiting for. I was
We
waiting
don't know
for
which
for a new
document
set
it
of
is. We've
documents.
had some.
You want a new set of documents.
It could be the
Black
same
Oak.
document. I don't care if
And they have to come from Black Oak.
Current is the word.
I don't care if they copy this one and resubmit it, as long as we know it's, you know.
And dated,
that
yeah,
it's-
absolutely.
And dated. David who?
Dated.
Dated.
Oh, dated. Uh-huh.
Normally how you control documents.
Yeah, normally all controlled documents get dated. They usually have a hash mark as to who originally.
Damn.
Okay.
I'm
Alrighty.
sorry, but my pumpkin situation is.
Thank you.
I have to leave. I apologize to all of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Free to call me, but I have caregiver I have to relieve. Time and a half.
Okay, we're on to the preliminary 2017 budget. There was, a public hearing held on the 2017 budget, and, I believe the input was there are no arithmetic errors in the preliminary 2017 budget.
Becky Sims, at the beginning of the public commentary for the budget, noted, she sent an email to the board members noting several arithmetic errors.
I believe I replied to all the board members when I replied to Becky.
And what was the result of that? I don't.
They got fixed,
They got fixed?
yeah.
Okay.
She did also ask Ann why there was a difference between the assessed valuation numbers in the tentative budget and the preliminary budget.
I am not going to get into what she might have seen or why she might have seen it.
Well, how about getting into it from what I've seen and when I saw it, which is right now, because it does exist. On
And
page
you
6.
see a difference between total town assessed value.
Yeah, on the last page, the last 7 or 8 lines in from the last line, it says assessed value total. And on the tentative budget for tentative 2017, it says $210 million, $971,065. On the, what's called the final town budget, the assessed value total is $185 million, $981,000. $916,000.
Okay, the tentative budget is dead. It's dead.
Gotcha.
We moved that to the preliminary budget.
Gotcha.
So I'm only gonna talk about the preliminary budget.
Well-
Because that's the packet of papers that is germane. Tentative budget is gone and in the past.
Well, it isn't if there's a mistake on it, Ann. If there's a significant mistake on the final budget because it doesn't sync up with this tentative budget, it would be really good to understand why there's a difference. Because that's a whole lot of money, the millions of dollars there.
The preliminary and the final are the same, the assessed values.
The tentative 2017 budget that has a 9/27/16 date on it says that the assessed value total in the town was $210,971,065. The one that we have now, which does not have a date on it naturally, says $185,916,981.
Preliminary or final, or, well, they both have the same
This is
line.
what's called final, which we have gotten today.
Guessing that.
I gave you a final today.
We do have a final, yeah.
And was the number in the tentative budget, that was a mistake for that, like that 210, that was a
Yeah.
mistake? And
Yeah.
that's been corrected in the final.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I was asking you.
And it makes sense if you look at the minor increases from previous years.
It does make sense. I just wanted to make sure we were in the ballpark.
Okay.
$25 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, that 210 kind of sticks out in that.
Well, I didn't bring that with me, so I would have to look back in my budget
But
folder.
it has been corrected.
Well,
Well, it is
I
corrected
have
on
a
the
hard
final.
copy here that is exactly what he read.
Okay.
It looks like the preliminary is the same as the final too, which is different from the tentative.
Exactly.
Well, the final is not the same as the preliminary.
But no,
Only
I mean,
in this
just the assessed
category.
value.
The assessed value,
Those are the
we
same.
agree is the same.
Yeah.
And also the town total was adjusted as well.
There is a difference between the
30.
preliminary budget and the final budget that I put out today or yesterday.
And the mill rate.
And if you want to know why, I'd be glad to tell you.
Well, it looks like the mill rate went down.
It does.
That's good.
Oh, that's all you want to know.
Well, that's what we're paying our taxes on.
Okay, so I need to change the headings, things to final. Now, I thing I did forget is to bring the schedule. We have to pass a final budget by November 20th. I am unclear whether you can move the preliminary, I just can't remember whether you can move the preliminary to the final and vote on it the same night, or whether there has to be some other notice.
So couldn't we move it to final and vote on it, and then if our vote is incorrect, we have to meet again?
Oh, you want to do it that way?
There was
Seems like that would work.
there was an outline that we had. At the
Yes,
last-
there was.
I didn't
Yes, there
bring it.
was.
I don't
Anybody
think,
have it with you?
I don't think we're doing anything wrong by voting on it, even though it's not supposed to be voted on. I don't think we'll break any laws that way. That way we wouldn't have to meet again just for the budget.
Makes sense to me.
He's still looking for his,
Oh,
you're still looking for the calendar guide?
yeah, we had it.
Well, I have it in my budget folder at home, but I didn't,
Yeah, you can. Hit it on, I don't know. if
I didn't
have
bring it with me.
I may not have it here. I remember seeing it, I don't remember the exact dates and patterns on that.
I mean, I'm sure you only have to have one public hearing.
I don't think I have it here. We have to have the public hearing, which we did.
Right, we only have to have one public hearing. I'm positive of that.
So let's move the preliminary to final and vote on it then.
All right, say motion, Henry.
I make a motion to move the preliminary 2017 town budget to the final 2017. Actually, that's a 16.
Yeah.
Oh,
27.
dear me.
But they're both 2017, right?
Dear me. I was much more concerned about the tax rate. I looked at that 5 times. I didn't look at the top here very many times.
By moving it from preliminary to final, does that mean we're approving the budget? Or is that a separate vote?
No, that's a separate
right?
vote. I'm pretty sure. Is there a second to Henry's motion?
I don't think he got to finish it.
Oh,
Oh, he didn't finish.
Make a
because we
motion
got
to
that.
move the preliminary 2017 town budget to the final 2017 town budget.
Second.
Any other discussion? You don't want to hear, but I'll tell you what the difference is. It came to my attention that the aquifer study was not divided equally by 5 years. In the early years of the aquifer study, they paid not very much, and since I got in office, I split it by 5, not knowing they hadn't split it by 5. And so it doesn't come out even. So we have a final bill of much more than $20,000 a year, which is, if you had divided it by 5, it would have come out to just about $20,000 a year. But they didn't do it that way. So I found this out 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so I did some thinking and also realized that in the early part of this process, there was a group of residents in the town who said they would help the town pay for the aquifer study. And a not-for-profit in town called Social Ventures said that they would hold the money that was collected from not just residents, but interested people in the environment who felt this was a good cause and wanted to help Enfield out. And so the aquifer study, they raised a little over $10,000 towards this. And Social Ventures has held it through the years as they acquired it. And then last year, it has never been asked for. The town has never been asked for that money. So I remembered that this was happening. I checked with Social Ventures, and yes, they have it. And so they are going to forward that money to us to defray the tax expense. And also, through the years, we have received $10,000 from 2 grants that this same group wrote and was funded, and that has been in the general fund. One of them has been in there since 2014, and another one was 2015 or something like that. So there's $10,000 in this A fund savings account that was specifically targeted to defray aquifer study expenses. So in this final budget, you will see a fund balance of $10,000 plus some amount of money from aquifer donations in the income line.
So does that make it so that we have a slight tax increase, but we're still under the tax cap?
We're under the, I subtracted it twice. I will run this by Jay Franklin before, well, and actually, I would really like to run the final by Jay Franklin before we vote on it, really. When I think about it.
So
To
then
be
you-
sure that the assessed value is correct and that my math is correct.
In the meantime, you can find out what the timing is for voting on the shift over and the final, right? Or can we just shift it over now but once it's final, we can't change it anymore, right?
Yeah, then it's harder.
Yeah, so maybe we better not.
We can move it to final, but I
Maybe we
would
shouldn't.
feel more comfortable that we put it off for
That
1
makes-
week or,
That makes sense.
because rescinding the final vote on the final budget is going to be more, I won't say impossible, but.
So hopefully maybe we can do a not 4-hour meeting to just vote on the budget.
Yes, absolutely.
So you can move it to final and then approve it.
Approve it at a separate meeting after I get it rechecked with Jay and the bookkeeper.
That's good.
So that's my discussion on the one change. And I'll just reiterate, this budget reflects a 2% increase in all people's in salaries. It's not a zero increase budget. We were able to do that because the total assessed value rose a comfortable amount to keep us under the assigned tax cap and allow the 2% increase in wages.
Could I make another statement? Hopefully this one won't cause many more problems. But I did get into an argument or a discussion, let's say, with Buddy last week about possibly taking some money out of his budget in order to keep us at no tax increase at all. We did have a meeting with Buddy and his
Deputy.
next in line, or
He's the deputy
Deputy.
supervisor.
deputy, okay, your son.
Brandon.
Yeah, who was great. But they did manage to convince me that there probably isn't a lot of money we can take out of his budget comfortably. And the fact is that over time, we're gonna need to think about very seriously doing something about equipment, money to buy equipment with, because he will likely need equipment, and at this point, from what I understand from Buddy, there was a time in the past when equipment was not kept up. The equipment replacement schedule was not kept up in keeping with what would be considered standards for town highway department. So at this point, he's running behind on equipment replacement, and therefore would need extra money, which would mean actually perhaps another significant bump in our budget at some point in the future, unless we can figure out some way to keep that from happening. One of the methods we talked about was possibly using CHIPS money.
That's the method that's gonna have to be
Yeah.
used if you want to solve
At
the
least
problem.
at least for a significant part of the money, using the CHIPS money to buy equipment and not use it for repaving, and the paving would have to just kind of wait for a few more years before we can do more with it, so.
I mean, it's gonna take years to build up a reserve that, so we won't get into these binds.
It will take a while.
Well, every year though, he has used the allocated reserve line during the year, so you can't lock it.
Can we build up money in general reserve and then a general fund
No,
reserve?
no.
Doesn't work that
A
way?
reserve has to be for a specific purpose.
In order to build up money though, you gotta.
You can't spend.
You gotta tax
Spend it.
people for
You
the
can't
money.
spend it. Yes, that's
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah, so they have.
There's
to-
an equipment reserve line in the budget every year, but it never gets locked because it's
Gets spent,
always
yeah.
used during the year for expenses.
All that being said, I did want to make another comment on the budget as well. And that's that I think it would be to our advantage at some point in the near future to try and get some information on a larger scale, whether it's a survey, whether somebody already has this information or not, that states what other highway departments are spending, what kind of equipment that they have, what kind of replacement schedule they have, what kind of money they spend on replacing equipment. And although I don't mean to be questioning Buddy's knowledge or expertise in this level, I think we should take his equipment list that he gives us every year and give it to someone else who is willing to just take a quick look at it and say, yeah, this one needs to go next year, and this one's got a couple years in it, and so forth and so on. Not to say that Buddy's wrong, but I just think another set of eyes sometimes can make a real difference in terms of that.
You mentioned the town of Danby had a lower
Well,
budget?
that was actually incorrect,
Oh,
because
okay.
the town of Danby people told me that, and then Buddy bought the actual budget so we could look at it at the
And it was
meeting.
different from this.
And they scheduled their money differently, so they didn't put their CHIPS money into their budget. So actually, their budget was higher than ours, which it should be. They have 28 more centerline road miles than we do. But the CHIPS money was actually part of their budget. They just kept it separate, so that the budget looked like it was the same or lower than ours because the CHIPS money wasn't included.
So was it an apples and oranges? Was it apples
It
and
wasn't
oranges?
quite apples and oranges, yeah. The other thing I wanted to say in relation to that is, while we're doing that, I think it would be also good to have some kind of information, survey or whatever, of what the supervisor and the town clerk in neighboring towns get in terms of how much time they spend, how much work they have to do, and what amount of money they're being paid for it. Just to see if we are keeping up with that
Those are good
contractually
ideas.
with the town clerk's salary and with the supervisor's salary. Because I think we all kind of they came with the job for all of us, and I don't think they've been looked at or updated very well in recent years, so. I think it'd be a
Well,
good thing to do.
I am going to truly try to recruit a student or two who could do these sort of things.
That would be great, yeah.
And I will allocate time towards starting this next week.
It's gonna be difficult to get anywhere with the budget and solve these problems without an increased tax base. That's, we don't have much of a tax base. There's not a lot of commercial property, not a lot
No.
of taxable
Well, you either
property.
increase the tax base or you increase the tax rate, one or the other.
Right.
My understanding is
Yeah.
that Enfield's tax rate at one point fairly recently was the lowest in the county.
Yeah.
They were kind of vying with Groton for the lowest in the county. I don't know if that's still true or not, but I think it's still very low compared to other county towns around us. So we may have to decide that we need to bring that tax rate up in the future, and people will have to deal with taxes. I've had lots of phone calls this week with homeowners from Enfield calling me and saying, "Why are you doing this to us?" And yet at the same time, I don't know
Get
that
the
we have
roads
another
plowed.
choice. To keep the roads plowed, exactly.
Well, the
Yeah.
county publishes the mill rate, so we can compare the mill rates of our town versus other towns, to see where we're at, because that's really the end number of
Right.
what people pay
And I
for
think
taxes.
putting that
against.
information together would be really helpful,
Yeah.
yeah.
But-
And if it means that they don't elect all of us next time, well, that's, so be it. Yeah.
They'd have to find other people to run.
That's true, yes.
Good luck.
Any more
What if you had an
discussion?
election and nobody ran?
At least we had some competition this time.
I'm gonna table my resolution until everybody's here.
Thank you. Do you want to read the resolution back, Alice?
Councilperson Hanstein moved the preliminary 2000 town budget to the final 2000 town budget.
Was there a second?
Michael, Councilperson Carpenter.
Okay, and we've discussed it. Any more discussion?
I thought we discussed we weren't gonna do it.
We're moving it to the final.
Yeah.
We're not
You said not to,
approving.
you said we wouldn't do that.
Okay, I gotcha. All right.
Oh, you didn't say not to move it to the final, you said just don't approve it.
Don't approve the final
Oh, okay.
budget,
Okay, sounds good.
or to be on the safe side. Don't approve it tonight.
Gotcha.
Call the vote?
Councilperson Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilperson Hanstein.
Aye.
Councilperson Miles.
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder.
Aye. Henry has asked that his resolution be postponed. So now we're into really new business. We have two people here with us tonight from Delaware River Solar. Peter and John, do I have them?
I got stretch.
Yeah. Peter and John?
Yes.
All right, okay, I got that.
It appears we're standing between everybody getting home early, so we'll try and keep it brief.
Aren't you glad you got here at 6:30?
Yeah.
I sent him the agenda.
My name is Pete Dolgus, and this is John Schmuck. We're with Delaware River Solar. Our CEO he typically attends these meetings. His wife's in labor today, so he is not here. But he resides in Sullivan County, in Callicoon, and owns a number of cattle ranches and farming operations, as well as a number of other businesses, including a solar development firm, the Delaware River Solar. We are currently developing a number of projects, across New York State, mostly Sullivan County and nearby counties, and we have a few projects through the permitting stage already. And we're here today because we are interested in, developing a project in the town of Enfield. We can go through a bunch of questions on what you think the solar project is, but really the reason we're here today is at the beginning of a solar project, New York State provides incentives to promote solar development in New York State. And one of the things we need, which we provided, and is a letter that we need from the town that basically acknowledges that we presented that we're interested in developing a project, and that the planning board or town board or whoever would be the lead agency, that you're willing to consider being the lead agency for the seeker process. The key term being consider being the lead agency, because it does not.
I missed that when I read it. I missed that.
It does not obligate the town to do anything, other than you're willing to, consider being the lead agency when we come back in a couple of months with a full site plan and, the solar laws in place.
I've already, I haven't responded to you yet. I'm gonna draft a letter saying that we're not specifically dealing with considering seeker, but that the planning board, that the town of Enfield has a site plan review law, that any solar development of I'm assuming this is a 2 megawatt or
Yes.
somewhere in that range. I haven't seen the application, so it's hard to
Yes, we
say
haven't-
what
we
we're
haven't-
doing.
we haven't got
And
to that.
and I don't
We
like,
haven't submitted
I don't like form letters from applicants. So basically, I'll write you a letter, I have the information, Alan gave it to me, stating that the town of Enfield has a site plan review law. The planning board is the agency that does those approvals, and as that agency, we generally are the lead agency for seeker in the town of Enfield.
Okay, that is really all.
That's basically,
Yeah.
if you look at our site plan review law, it basically the planning board is responsible. And as an agency of a public entity in New York State, we are obligated to do seeker for it before any approval process.
Okay, because that's really the primary reason.
And I'll try to get that off to you by the end of the week.
I
so.
promised them that Dan would be here.
Does it,
So-
do we know what type of action, type of secret action it would be at this point? Would that
Well, it'll
typically
be site plan approval.
Okay.
Yeah, in other
It's
towns,
probably
we've
not
been
a type
completed in
2.
full seeker.
But
No,
we'll
it'll be
wait
a
and
type,
see.
it'll be a type 1.
So Dan, do you need anything?
Well, it won't be a type 1, it's gonna be an unlisted action, because it's
Oh,
not
it's gonna
listed.
be
It's
unlisted.
gonna be an unlisted
Okay.
action, yeah, I'm sorry.
Do you need any kind of approval from the town board? It seems like this is just all
This is,
between,
the site plan approval is a planning board approval.
between you
The
and
only
me.
town board approval may be if it deals with the real estate taxes. And and Ann mentioned something about the opting in or out of the
We've
assessment.
opted out.
We've opted out of what?
We've opted out of what?
Out of
Let
the
me
exemption
see.
for.
We have opted out, of the project would be fully taxable for town taxes the March after it's completed. The county, because they did not opt out, can demand a pilot. That's what Jay Franklin told me.
And there was one point that I talked to Jay, that he said they were not considering increased value for solar systems on projects. He did say that to me, yes.
Didn't say that to me this morning.
Well,
This was many
That's
years ago.
residential.
That's residential, that's not
That's
commercial.
So my
residential.
question then is, will they then come out and do an appraisal on this wind farm and add that to the property value? Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
That's,
So.
that's what,
We're not waiting. I'm just waiting.
that's what I heard Jay say.
So you're gonna lower our taxes?
We like the horse. Don't say all.
So you don't need much from us.
No, it was pretty simple.
So you got your answer.
Yes, we'll present the site plan in a month or two, but we
And
needed this in order to.
You're,
start this
you're
development.
We got
gonna
a
take
lease on
this
property
letter?
already?
Yes.
I'm gonna send them a letter, but it won't be that letter.
No, this is the letter from them.
I know, I have a copy of that already.
Oh, you do?
Al gave me that at the planning board
So
meeting.
I'm just gonna store this under solar.
If you want to, yes, that's fine.
Is the one between 79 and Aiken?
No.
I'd have to guess it, but I know it's.
I know exactly where it is because I went by it today. It's in Beth's backyard.
Oh, lucky you, Beth.
My front yard, wait a minute, that's not gonna happen, that's in my front yard.
Is it Kenny's property? Podoka?
No, it is not Kenny's Kinney's property. It's across the road from Kinney's property. On the west side of Podunk.
I don't know the.
Yeah, you never
I don't
been
have
to
the owner's
Podunk.
name, but it's 236
But
Podunk Road.
you have to notify people as part of the process, right? Or not?
Yes, eventually.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, so,
What size?
because they'll know.
No, there's a whole process.
Back up, we'll sit.
2 megawatt
Everybody
project.
will-
2 megawatt?
10 to 12. Well, all depended on what we find when we do the feasibility studies, but it wouldn't be more than, 2 megawatts.
There were several acres, or quite a few acres of property that was.
Oh, yeah, it's a big parcel.
Up for purchase.
But you had mentioned earlier,
So
nice big
in
limits.
my letter, I'll just
Right.
list out the process
Right.
also.
Nice
for
that
this,
it's gonna
because
limit.
We'll want to have a sketch plan before you get into full development, just so you know which direction we want.
Well, we've been through the, towns with solar laws, without solar
Yeah.
laws, all the reviews that will help get it done, but we would not be ready to submit, for
Yeah.
at least another month. So,
Yes.
okay, but that's it for us. Everyone can go home now?
No, we got one more.
No, I got one more, but pretty much everybody can come home.
You got
Can you
it.
find your way home? Yeah, okay. You don't want to go to Plymouth. If it were Jay, I'd take you. I'd force you to go.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I can store this under solar. And our last item of business is the contract with Enfield Community Council, which I believe I forwarded to you by email, I believe.
We have copies from Alex.
I know, I saw it somewhere, but I don't seem to have it.
No, because Ann said unless
They
you
were in
requested, she said
You
if,
had to request.
yeah, if you didn't request it, not to make a copy.
Yeah,
But they were in envelopes.
I didn't order them.
Oh, what's in the
Somebody left
envelope?
them in the envelopes.
I don't know what that is.
That's it.
No, that's not the contract.
But that's the information that they sent.
Yeah, I remember seeing it somewhere.
That was emailed to you, I guess.
So, you, in an email, you have a copy of the proposed contract. And in your piece of paper, in your envelope, you have additional information. And, I only put a star by this because I was way over the edge by then.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I think it was Nancy Spiro that said something about there was a 2% increase in
Right,
this contract
right.
budget.
That was
Right.
Marcus.
Marcus, okay. So this is
Well, there were a couple of people. I personally see no reason why, 2% seems very reasonable.
but I didn't get to ask my question yet.
Oh.
Can I do that?
Sure. Ask a
So
question.
it's a 5-year contract.
It's a 5-year
right?
contract.
So does that mean it goes up 2% every year, or it just goes
That's
up
the
2%?
proposed.
Okay, I didn't know
That's
whether it was
the
every year or not.
proposed.
And what does that dollar amount come down to, the 2%?
Let me find the proposed
$1,000 a
town budget.
It's a $50,000 budget.
50, the final year is 50,419. Starts at 46,579 and works its way up.
About $1,000 a year.
And that's incorporated into the 2017 budget?
Yes.
Okay.
It's already in there. Well, I'd rather give the money to the kids than some things.
I'm not finding the line.
Can we split it between
Oh,
Alice and the kids?
$46,578 next
Yeah,
year.
well, that's only good. Alice got 2%. Yeah.
The line item for youth program, line item A7310.4.
Well, that number's in keeping with what we've done every year so far, right?
It's quite a long history of a 2% yearly increase.
Right.
At least back 10 years. I wouldn't,
Yeah. The
I
budget shows it
wouldn't
back 4
say,
years anyway.
Are they serving more students? Same amount?
Does the letter say that they're serving more kids than they have in the past?
Well, they said attached to the 2016 summer camp budget, we had 113 campers this summer, a record, exclamation mark.
Sounds like they are, yeah.
Could I make a brief comment about it?
well, we're on to privilege of the floor. 3 minutes, one person, to the whole board.
Was that an action item that we were supposed to?
With regard to this youth budget, the services that they provide, especially through summer camp and through the after school, I imagine, they often get hit with mandated expenses, like for regulations for serving kids and that sort of thing, and providing services. So they eat those expenses or have to make the cost of camp too much for people in Enfield to be able to afford.
Right.
So personally, I mean, I don't ever like to get into a long-term contract where we just automatically give increases without any sort of oversight of that or review of that. But this particular thing, I think that kind of money would simply, the way they use the money to provide services for youth, especially with summer camp, is just, it's a great service. And the kids in Enfield particularly, because of our level of poverty here, they really get served well by that. I went to Enfield summer camp, so.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, my wife works in after-school program, and there's a lot of regulations that need to happen from micromanaging just the food and the kinds of food,
Right.
and that's not including whether you need any special services or one-on-ones and things like that. So
Counselors need certain trainings
Yeah.
and stuff
There's
for
always-
dealing with kids, so those expenses come up and they have to accommodate, they have to follow the law, so.
Yep, and there's required training yearly, first aid, things like
And
that.
also like increases, minimum wage increases and stuff, they don't have any choice, they have to meet those requirements, so.
I don't see why we wouldn't approve it. Can we vote on it tonight if we want to?
Ooh, it's fine with me. That would be less that I have to write
Well, I
next
would
month.
make a motion that we approve the contract with, I don't even know who we're approving it with.
Enfield Community Council, seconded.
The Enfield Community Council.
Other discussion? I would certainly second Beth's points. This is a long-standing program in Enfield that is incredibly high quality by outside people evaluating it, and incredibly necessary in Enfield with our level of poverty.
And I would also say, I did meet with a group of people fairly recently, Enfield residents, that expressed an interest in doing some money raising for projects in Enfield, perhaps to offset revenue lost if we don't approve the wind farm and don't get that revenue in the future. They did have one idea that they would perhaps buy a generator for the highway department and just buy it themselves and contribute it to Buddy, 'cause he said he needed it and it seemed like a good thing to get. This could also be a project, or would be something that would be really helpful to contribute to the Enfield Community Council for their summer programs and whatever programs they do. That would be a great place to contribute some money.
As
It
long as
isn't
people,
not-
it's not municipal.
It's not municipal,
It's
no.
separate from the
Yeah.
town.
It is
Yeah.
a not-for-profit that you can deduct from your taxes.
Right.
It's a certified not-for-profit.
But it serves the town well, so.
In my wife's program, they've had to increase the salaries to find and retain qualified staff. So they've had to increase it quite a bit in the last couple of years.
Any other discussion? Call the vote.
Councilperson Carpenter?
Aye.
Councilperson Handstein?
Aye.
Councilperson Miles?
Aye.
Supervisor Ryder?
Aye. We're on to privilege of the floor.
Gotta take her.
I'm sorry. Mimi.
Maybe happy 115 West Enfield Center Road. I just wanted to kind of add to the discussion on the community council. My kids all did go there, and it's a fantastic program. Their sliding scale fee, however, is too low at the top end, or at least it was many years ago. My kids are all almost done with college now, but it was too low for people. Some people could have afforded more. So my only thought was, if somebody sees Vera, they might look at that spread because the sliding scale was very generous, but it was also extremely, it was too reasonable, I felt, many times. So we could have afforded more and would have expected to pay more anywhere else. So I appreciate the low end of the scale, and I think that's really necessary, but I think the high end might be able to go up higher.
I'll relay that too.
I mean, I don't know what it looks like now, but I can tell you.
Well,
that-
nobody complains about it, so it must be too low.
Right. And it was,
It must
I mean,
be
it was
still
great. It
too
was all
low.
on an honor system, and but it was great.
Oh, no, we passed an honor system a long time
but,
ago.
oh. But I always take the high end, but it was ridiculously low.
Other privilege of the floor? Rich? It's not Rich.
Joe Dawson, 738 Blackwell Road. This is one of the things I mentioned to you that we've been working on for trying to fix the ventilation.
Right.
This is one version, and then there's another one. I like that better. I'll just kind of explain it to you, and you'll be able to explain it to them a lot easier.
Right.
But like, that's a wall section. I got 12 of these we were able to get, so we can use them if you think they will work. You just drill a hole through the outside wall, through the vapor barrier that's on the outside, because there is one there, right?
Well, we think there might be.
Well, there is one
In
because
certain-
it's metal siding.
On the outside wall.
On the outside wall.
Right, okay, okay. I
Metal
was
siding
thinking
is
there
a
might
vapor
be
barrier.
plastic there too, and that's even
Well,
worse.
Vapor barrier, the metal siding. Is
Yeah.
vapor barrier. Yeah.
So if you put these between each purling section,
Right.
top and bottom, the wind will naturally just vent the whole wall.
Right.
So there's 12 of these total. I was just gonna take them down to Buddy, and there's a mathematical, if you have 1 foot of free vent coverage per 300 square feet, that is sufficient to vent the whole wall and keep it dry. How many would you need? Well, these are only $2 and change each. So if you need a total of like 1,000 of them for the whole building, then it's still much
Then all you
cheaper.
need is double the cost of your heating budget to pay.
No,
for
no,
the
no, it's
difference.
the outside, the outside.
No, you lose.
Some, yeah.
You lose significant amounts.
Do you think so?
Yeah, you do, yeah.
Okay.
It's not a bad idea. I don't mean to put
Well, I
it
was
down.
just
but-
thinking
but
there's like a patch for the worst sections.
It
but-
could be a patch, possibly, but I think at this point, I'd be best off to try and not put Band-Aids on it, but actually
Right.
try and find a good solution. So I appreciate this, and that's a good start. I wouldn't tell Buddy to go ahead and put all these in, though, at this point. I think it's
Okay.
not necessarily the best way to do it.
Okay. Would you like them, or?
I would love to keep one, just to look at, and then I'll get it back to you.
Okay.
And I'll talk with some people about it and
Okay.
see.
I mean, you can keep all the information if you
I'm
like.
not an engineer, so I'll go over that information with people who are, and make sure that I'm right about that, and then we'll talk about it next
It
time.
depends on the insulation layer, because usually this is an actual attic vent, eaves, and in attics typically we have the open ventilation on the one side anyway, so. But, okay, do you want these or no?
If you have extra, I'll keep
Yeah,
them.
go ahead.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Tammy.
Do we say my name and address again, or just?
Yeah.
Tammy Elling, 203 Hines Road. Mike, I think you're absolutely brilliant in not doing it, writing up the paperwork on that, just for the fact that I just feel like there could be a lot of controversy when you agree to do it. I sat here and I thought, wow, that's a big, huge role. And honestly, we've been, or not we, I think the board has been asking quite a bit from the wind farm that you've never received. That's what I take from sitting here in the audience and trying to figure out how much you received, like even the question and answers, or even the thing down at the school when all this stuff was written on the board like we talked about a couple weeks ago. I don't think I've ever seen anything come back, the comments, all the things, the emails, all those things. I've never seen any of it, and maybe it's out there somewhere, I don't even know. But it's just, it just seems like a lot of things are putting in Black Oak Wind Farm's hands that just sits there, and now they're gonna like come back at you and get really mad because 2 weeks ago you said you'd do something, and then you decided that it probably wasn't in your best interest and you stated why, which I think you're smart to do it in front of the board.
Actually, I think it's a conflict of interest.
Right,
is
and that's what
the problem is.
you know, and so sitting here in front of the board, I think that was wise to say that, your reasons why, for just 2 weeks time period, I don't think is a very long, I don't think it was dragged out or anything, and so I really have a hard time sitting here and having them be so upset at you, and I'm thinking there's so many things in their court, I have such a hard time with it. Unless I'm wrong about the things sitting in their court, and maybe you already have all those things, I don't know, but.
Maybe we do, I don't know either.
I'm not even sure where they could be, maybe here, maybe there, I don't even know. But it's just, you know, kudos for you to, I think, make a really good, smart choice. And
We will see, I
I
guess.
should thank all of you for doing a really good, hard job. This is almost the end of the year, and sure, I'll just try to come together like we've said in the past meetings and put whatever feelings aside and work together and get this, whatever it's gonna happen, and move forward and try to.
Good thing we don't get paid by the hour, right?
Even when you do, it sucks. We'll have to work overtime to make up for all the taxes and everything that somebody's
Right.
proposing.
We're all salaried. High salary.
Jude. Jude Lemke, 215 Connecticut Hill Road. I just want to remind folks that we brought up the property value guarantee in the wind farm as one of our compromises, and Peter rejected it out of hand. And it's just like everything else Black Oak has done. When their backs to the wall, they come up with a proposal, and it's not a real proposal. And this one is ephemeral at best, right? I mean, it says that they're going to protect you against 80%, just 80% of assessed value. So the person is going to have to take a loss between the fair market value and assessed value, plus 20% of assessed value on top of that. And they're funding it from good neighbor agreements and the like, which the good neighbor agreements are only $42,000 a year. Plus the town has to kick in its own money, and there's not a dime coming out of Black Oak to fund any of that. And so what's $42,000 isn't going to buy anybody out.
That's
and
what I was saying, yeah.
And it says that if there's not enough money, you have to wait. So
I don't understand how they funded out a good neighbor agreement.
well, because they're saying, oh, we're going to be really nice. We're going to let everybody out of their good neighbor agreements to help raise money to fund this buyout.
Well, the excess good
But if-
neighbor agreements, the ones that weren't signed.
Right, but if you look at if you look at the number of good neighbor agreements, there's not that many good neighbor agreements. So when you multiply it by $500, it's not a lot of money.
So the people
It's
won't
the
be
ones
getting the
that weren't
$500.
Well, they'd have to give up their $500 to help fund the buyout if they
No,
wanted to.
It's for people that didn't
sign.
want the good.
They're not letting
neighbor
anyone out
agreement.
of the good neighbor.
No, they said they
Yes, they
would.
did.
They did, and
We
they
said we
did.
would, but that's.
They did.
Marguerite
Said
she'd
tear
mine
up
and never did, so that's
But it's a insignificant amount of money, so it's not a real offer.
But that was an email from Marguerite. It wasn't part of the
No, and it was
documents
just
that
an
we're
email.
looking at
Oh,
now,
and
so-
it was
Well,
after
it was
the
part
wind.
of it, because she sent that email directly in response to a phone call I had with her that said this would be part of our agreement.
Right, but it's also, she said, after the wind permit was issued, she'd talk about it.
Right, but in order to, so we all know what document, what we're reviewing, that was an email that Marguerite sent. It wasn't part of like the
Right.
September 10th
But
document.
it's
or
a
the
non-offer.
August or
It's a
June
non-offer,
document.
like everything else
It was
they
It was
do.
a separate email that she sent as a
Right.
proposal.
Marcus.
Marcus Gingrich, 101 Rumsey Hill Road. I'm almost at a loss for words. I mean, it finally is, I think, really coming to light that everybody is confused. There is just so much information that is going back and forth and that is not being revealed, and that is, it's just mind-boggling to try and keep up with it. And I think I finally heard Virginia say the same thing, that she is, it's a mess. The thing that I find interesting is I just, a few minutes ago, looked on the town website again, and as far as I know, that's still the only application on record for a 20 wind turbine wind farm. I don't understand how the whole project can even keep going when it doesn't seem like anybody knows for sure what's going on. Yeah, there was an EIS that was supposedly approved, but according to my understanding, the resolution was for approval of an EIS, not for approval of a project, as I've heard stated just, I think, today.
Say that again?
There was an EIS approved.
A town board resolution.
Right. My understanding was that there was no application, actually.
Can I respond to that? Is that okay?
Well, yes, you can respond.
What happened with that, Marcus? We brought up the same issue to Frank Pavia. And as far as I can understand, my response was, and you guys check me on this to make sure I get it right, but by continuing the process and approving the EIS and then approving that resolution that we did when Marguerite changed the size of the turbines, that both of those approvals were tacit approvals of the change from the 20 short towers to the 7 big towers, and we didn't ever have to actually say anything about that.
But that's for an EIS, that's not for an application. There was never a formal application.
But this is what the lawyer told us.
And but he's, I think I've heard some people say that he's a questionable.
That's for somebody else to decide, or at least to say.
And not a
point.
subject
Yeah.
of public
Yeah.
comment. Thank
Not
you.
a subject of. I don't know, maybe I said something wrong. I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
said,
You
I said
overstepped.
it was questionable
You overstepped.
whether his intentions are for the town. I think I've heard a board member say that.
All I can say is that his advice, in his best understanding, was that legally, to some extent, we tacitly approved those changes by voting on these things that actually kind of included those changes in a backward kind of a way. Just because it said something somewhere in the thing about the 7 towers, then we were automatically at 7 towers.
Okay.
And
So they don't ever have to put in an application that actually
well,
states
that's kind of what he said, and he wasn't, you know, a lot of the stuff that lawyers tell you is, they say, well, it could go this way, it could go that way, but here's my best opinion on this, and so that was his best opinion, and, you know, what do you do? As a town board member, you say, we agree with you, or we don't, and we're gonna act that way, or we're not. That's what you get to do, so, as far as he was concerned, that was a done deal, and does that seem right to you, Henry and Michael?
I can't find the resolution,
But also, the town board, previous town board also approved the application as complete
Yeah.
enough to
Well,
with some commentary by Frank Pavia.
Absolutely. And let me just
But that
clarify,
was in
I was not saying
2009.
Frank Pavia
Yeah,
was
2009.
questionable character or anything like that. There was expression of questionable advice. That's, I'll leave it at
That's a
that.
better thing.
Yeah.
But Henry, or Michael, if you look at the law where it says it's approved, it also states, I think very clearly, that approval does not mean that there won't be changes that you'll ask for in the future. It's just a conditional approval. It's not, it doesn't mean you approved everything as such. It just means that you approved it in a general way and
Enough to move forward with.
enough to move forward. It's kind of, and it's the same difference between completion of a project and substantial completion of a project. Substantial completion has a very strict legal definition, but it doesn't mean it's complete. It just means that with substantial completion, you can gain a certain amount of money on the project, but it doesn't mean it's done, and it doesn't mean you get all your money. Those kind of wordings are legal, and you gotta know what they're talking about, and it's complicated stuff. So.
Just one other brief thought, and there was an exchange with Dan Walker regarding the process, and I'm not trying to cast any dispersions on him at all, but I believe, you know, the permitting process for like standard building and stuff is gonna be a little potentially different because we have a specific wind law for the permitting process here. So I don't know, I would just say our law, I would assume, would take precedence on how the permitting process goes for a wind farm. But just quick shift gears. The what did you call it? Soup coat payment? There was a little bit of discussion of that, and I was just curious, would it make sense to even make a partial payment? I mean, just to...
There's no money to make a partial payment.
Okay, if there's no money to even make a partial payment, there was concern about, you know, maintaining good business relationships, but in one way is you make a good faith payment, this is what we can. That's...
I like Mike's answer to that, is communicate with them and let them know what's going on. And that's half the battle, it's just that communication. It's not like we don't want to fault
Yeah.
them. We
Don't wanna wait for them to call us for the money.
But letting them, just letting it go.
You
with
don't
them.
worry about that when it's my bill, when it's the A fund bill. They can call me at all hours of the day and night. It's okay. Okay.
There's me.
Dawn.
I just want to, Dawn Drake, 105 Griffin Road. I just want to say, I don't understand how this whole project is moving on when there's nowhere to put the substation and nobody will answer questions, and it's not going on Rich Cheater's land legally, so why does this keep going on? I'm just so confused. Nobody answers me. It's like a big secret, but there's nowhere to put the substation, so I don't understand why we keep moving on.
You have to do it in a legal context, though, Dawn.
Huh?
And it has to, that information has to be gathered in a legal context.
So we have to hire an attorney to ask the town?
One of the things in our draft letter to Black Oak is asked.
Okay, yeah, because we'd like to know where the substation's going before anything's voted in.
Well, I think
Okay,
Teresa
and I wanna
said they've already given
congratulate
Black Oak a
Beth,
letter.
But
And I
Black
want
Oak
to
hasn't given it to
congratulate the
us.
President
What's that?
Trump,
Black Oak hasn't
make
given it
America
to us.
great again, and
We
he's
haven't
right.
but they
officially asked
haven't.
for it yet.
What?
We haven't officially asked for it yet.
Keep my guns,
So-
my guns, my guns, my guns.
Welcome back, and we're never gonna
Well, here's, Marcus, here's the resolution. Well, I got both resolutions. Other
I just
privilege
have one
of the
other
floor?
thing to say.
Ron.
You know, I really, and I think I can speak for everybody in the town that doesn't want the wind farm.
I could bring it to a meeting or something.
I really appreciated what you said, the letter that you wrote. I thought it was really, like, awesome and really well written, you know, and it was kind of like what I say, only eloquent.
That's because I had a lot more time to think about it.
Respect, baby.
And Mr. Miles, thank you for holding them to the lawyer letter
Yeah,
of the law.
yeah, I mean, really,
And you
that
guys.
was awesome.
Henry, thanks for understanding.
Yeah, kudos to you guys.
I just have a comment.
Yeah.
You know, Mike, you can get those in plastic, so it would never rust too. I got a lot of them in plastic in my house.
At any rate, don't let them get you down. We got your back, really.
Teresa's got it.
Seriously.
Teresa.
The guys that were here for the solar thing, if they come back or whatever, I just wanna make sure as a board and as a community, we're, do our homework and research and make sure that everything is up to par where it needs to be before we vote on any of that stuff in the future, as far as, you know,
Well, there's not many laws in Enfield.
Right, and
So-
I've mentioned that several times about the solar stuff, and it never gets addressed, so.
I'm gonna make a suggestion that you're not gonna like. And that's that, if you heard what Dan said, he actually, the planning board is actually the lead agency. So when they start doing their hearings for the planning board and come in and do their applications, somebody or somebody's need to go to the planning board hearings and hold their feet to the fire like you're holding our feet to the fire in
So
those
can
meetings.
they just put the solar panels, like those big ones in Enfield, like without Enfield and residents discussing that stuff? I guess I'm just confused.
That's what we
No.
board meeting is.
Very simple.
Talk about it.
They're actually right
There are
around the corner.
very
from me.
little land use laws in Enfield, and
Well, I
the,
understood that, Ann, I was
But-
just not sure on the solar stuff.
Does it require a public hearing though, that process? Our site plan review? It does.
some
okay.
of them do.
So there will be a public hearing.
Some of them do.
I mean, I'm not against them, I just
Yeah.
wanna make sure that everybody, so that the town's not up in arms 5 years from now about stuff like that, so.
Good thinking. Okay.
We're trying to get in before the 10 years is up.
They don't make any noise.
But this doesn't preclude people from commenting or being against them, but the facts that you're operating in outside of a wind energy farm is there are very, very, very few land use rules in Enfield. And therefore, companies, people have pretty wide latitude of land use in Enfield. Now, you may not like the proposed plan, but you don't get to choose. Just like we didn't get to choose that a wind farm came here. The board didn't get to choose.
Sure we did.
It's presented, and the board has to deal with it.
But at this point, you're at the beginning of the process, and so you can follow that through and anticipate.
Well, I'm not against solar, so I just wanna make sure that we're clear about that. I just wanted to make sure the community just keeps going on,
Right.
being involved with stuff, and that was it, that's all.
How about that donkey farm?
And we really want to see a good neighbor agreement.
And also too, if, we did start raising more money and stuff, if the funds, if they did need it for certain stuff like that Enfield thing, or, if the highway needed certain stuff, I mean, it'd be good to know, because we wanna start doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Did we decide to call Sutco? Or not? What do you think?
I'm writing an email to Buddy saying the board requests.
So should we leave it to him to call Sutco if he feels it's appropriate or not? He might take it as being encroaching on his territory, I guess.
So you want me to call Sutco?
No, I don't. I would just want to talk to Buddy.
You're gonna
and
talk to
see.
Sutco.
Well, maybe I should talk to Buddy and say, do you want to call Sutco?
Oh, you
or
wanna
would you rather?
talk to Buddy.
Would you rather? Well, I can see it as kind of stepping on his toes. He's got big toes, so I'd rather not do that any more than I have to. You want me to do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, that would.
Other privilege of the floor? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
As an executive session? Is that what
He said seconded.
Oh, you seconded.